You?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're live yet.
Well, here's Winky. Winky does not like getting picked up, unfortunately. It's the weirdest thing.
Really?
Ace and I will pick her up.
We're definitely live, so here we go.
Winky the cat. Winky the cat. Everyone loves Winky. It's Winky the... Ah! Hi, kids. It's the Winky the Cat show with this idiot, Winky. Winky!
Oh, Winky.
Yes. Winky is tearing up this chair. It's funny because Instagram sent me a picture of 3 years ago. There's your memory. Oh, my God, my chair. It looked so nice once. She's torn the guts out of it. Hey, baby. Hi, baby. Do you want to talk about Don Doler? Do you want to talk about Al Adamson? How about Bill Rebane?
Sure.
Bill Rebane's been Winky's latest crush.
Yeah.
Latest movie crush, right?
Oh,
right, Winky?
That makes sense.
She's actually not talking to me because I watched 2 Hideshi Hino, one of those guinea pig films.
Oh, no. Why'd you do that?
I borrowed them from Gore because I was, and oh my good Lord, I actually almost threw up. I honestly almost threw up at the mermaid and manhole one.
God, I remember how infamous that was back in the day, right? Oh,
I know, right?
Boy.
It's still nasty because it's just basically like watching someone film a toilet bowl. You know? I mean, it's. I'm sitting there going, okay. It's interesting to me to watch because it's like I'm comparing it to Hino's comics, and his fetishes and his weirdnesses, and I'm like, yeah, this is Hideshi Hino kind of stuff, and then it's just nothing but worms and pus, and I'm like, I'm glad I wasn't eating in front of the computer for that one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that was disgusting. So I returned those with a note. I think I drew myself. I think I put a Post-it on it of myself throwing up. It really is possibly the most nauseating thing in some ways that I've seen because it doesn't stop. There's one point where it just the recording of the stuff hitting the floor and it's just the worms and I know it's fake, but the worms were real and it was just making me really grossed out. And I'm like, no, this is I expected a lot of gore and nonsense, and but I wasn't expecting like miles of pus and worms, and I'm just like,
that's a good band name.
Miles of Pus and Worms.
I wouldn't go and worms. I feel that's too long.
Just Miles of Pus and.
No, I would also erase the N.
So it's Miles of Pus.
Yes, let's send that to the art department.
Yeah, let's send it to Norway. Finland. Somebody will pick it up.
Yeah.
So what you been up to? What have you been watching?
Oh, nothing. No, I've been watching.
You've been watching a lot of like regular stuff, for lack of a better way of putting it, non-genre and or different genre.
Yeah, I would say different genre. I feel like I always have to watch genre.
How is that pop? Well, you watch some documentaries and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm very cultured.
You're cultured? Is that what you said?
Yes, I'm cultured. What, are you questioning that?
Miles of Pus and culture. No, I'm not questioning it. You got all that Rafifi shit going on, and you got the Boonwell going on, and I'm sitting
Rafifi shit.
And I'm sitting here watching the first Bigfoot movie, which is one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. It was horrible.
Well, what's the first Bigfoot movie?
Well, the first Bigfoot movie is, wait for it, Bigfoot. Pregnant pause, because it's called Bigfoot.
And what year is that from?
1812.
No.
That's what the war was over.
I'll look it up.
No, Bigfoot was, I have my glass. Wait, where is it? Bigfoot was 1979? Wait, no, it's early. 1970.
1970.
1970. Now, I was surprised by this.
Okay.
For some reason, I thought Boggy Creek was the first one, but I guess that's the one that that's the one that really...
Yeah, it took it to a new level.
Right, about a foot higher, yeah. But Bigfoot is fascinating because it's terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And it was the third movie I'd seen with John Carradine that week without trying to see a John Carradine movie. It's really depressing. It might have been the fourth John Carradine movie. Shit. I think it was. God, it's really depressing that I was watching so many bad movies that I was sitting there thinking to myself, who was the one thing I was curious about your opinion. Who's fallen from grace the farthest and the hardest from old Hollywood and having a career?
Oh, so in other words, like a John Carradine who was
or a Lon
state...
Chaney, who
just
became like so sad to watch.
Oh, Jesus!
At
Christ.
first, I was thinking Carradine, but that's only because I was seeing a lot of Carradine, and seeing him, with his fish fingers flipping around and
oh, that's terrible.
I know it is terrible, but we should have had a better society that he didn't have to do all those jobs. He's horrible. But then I thought Lon Chaney Jr. might be the saddest.
Yeah, but I mean, did he have much of a fall?
Yes,
he wasn't that. I mean, he's still good in Spider Baby.
Oh, he sure is, because somebody off camera is holding sausages and a beer. He's going, whoa, I love dogs. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Who doesn't?
My dad barely beat me. But I think it was Lon Chaney Jr. in a lot of ways, because he headlined films constantly. As schmucky as his career was, he was still famous and a draw, whereas John Carradine never really was a top star.
But what about somebody like Joan Crawford? I mean, who is pretty high up there when you think about it, and then is doing terrible shit by the end of her career.
She was doing terrible shit, but it was kind of like, at the same time, she was like married to the head of PepsiCo. And she wasn't a horrendous drunk crying. You know what I mean? She wasn't falling. I mean, in some ways, Bette Davis is more depressing to watch because she was becoming deranged. I mean, she was losing her mind. But yeah, I mean, Joan Crawford is a super fall, but between the body of work, the length of time, and unlike Lon Chaney Jr., she didn't really have to work. So she did Gog. Okay. She did, what was it, Trog, and basically went, all right, you know what? I have a fucking mansion. And he does Al Adamson movies and goes to other Al Adamson movies. He looks like absolute hell. He can't speak his lines. He's drunk. He's drunk on the set. I mean, but this is a guy whose name was on top of maybe 24 movies after The Wolfman. He stars in a lot of Universal stuff.
Yeah.
And then he ends up, he's in Mice of Men. I mean, he's more Hollywood. And it's funny, he's more Hollywood royalty in a way, because Carradine kind of starts his brood of creeps. And, but Carradine looks like he's having a good time and remembers most of his lines, as bad as his movies are.
Right.
Chaney looks like they had to get him, they had to basically pour water on him. I mean, then I watched the Cameron Mitchell movie, and those are always kind of tough. Right. But he seems to have a sense of humor about it.
Here's an interesting thing about Joan Crawford. So, yeah, she does Krog in 1970. Then she does the Tim Conway Comedy Hour in 1970.
Who wouldn't?
And then an episode of The Sixth Sense. Remember The Sixth Sense?
No.
Yeah, that was the, what's his name? The hell's his name? Gary Collins. And it was he was like an occult investigator guy, and they were
familiar. Sounds familiar, but I don't like Gary Collins. He's on that list of like childhood Jeff Fahey's, who's just not an interesting dude.
Really?
Gary Merrill, Gary Collins.
He didn't do it for you?
No, and I asked repeatedly, and he wouldn't do it for me. I said, Gary? He said, no. I said, Gary? He said, what you want?
See, well, you didn't think we'd have anything to talk about.
No, we have Adam Ant. We can sing about how Captain Sensible hated Adam Ant and Gary Collins.
Yeah, we're covered.
Gary Collins, he's one of those guys who's just absolutely vanilla. I mean, literally vanilla. There's just nothing. Why would you, like Peter Lawford. I hate Peter Lawford. I mean, I hate Peter Lawford more because you could see basically him being dragged along with his famous friends to be in things.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't think of anything that Peter Lawford's ever in. You know, when you say Peter Lawford, I feel like he's in the Rat Pack, and then he's Ellery Queen, and
when like Hollywood studio stuff is starting to fall apart, he's like he's kind of like he always looks like he's too old for his roles, even when he's young. But he's thrown in a lot of the collapsing era of musicals, you know, the ones where, you know, Gene Kelly and everybody's fading, musicals aren't making money, but they're still trying, and you get Peter fucking Lawford, who's just, you know, the first guy you want to punch at a party, if you know what I mean. You just want to hit him with a bottle. Ugh, what a horrible man. Ugh, I hate him. Also, I hate the Rat Pack. Ugh, I don't know why, I just do.
Nice.
I don't hate them all individually.
But when they combine into...
They just look like they probably killed children and shit and laughed about it. You know, just,
Now, Evan, you know, the Sixth Sense was syndicated into the Night Gallery. Like the Night Gallery, when it was that...
Really?
Yeah, they would sometimes they would cut up the Sixth Sense and put it. So if you ever watch a Night Gallery episode and Gary Collins shows up, it's like a ghost by the window or something.
What do you mean? What are you talking? Wait, I'm completely confused.
Okay, so
about a backdoor pilot.
No. When the thing is, the night galleries we watch are not like the night galleries that were shown back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, they're cut to shit because of syndication. That's why half of them don't make any sense.
I haven't seen them since they start. I have not seen them since they were running. Right. I'm like kind of desperate. The two series that I really want to see is Night Gallery and Outer Limits. But I saw Outer Limits enough times that I am familiar with it. I don't know a thing about Night Gallery except for the pilot episode, because that continued to run on late night TV, the Spielberg one and all that shit.
Yeah.
With Joan Crawford.
Exactly. There we go. It all comes together.
Risen from the grave.
But yeah, no. What they would do is when they syndicated the Night Gallery, they would edit the package together where sometimes what would appear to be a Night Gallery episode is fucking Gary Collins fucking around.
You gotta be kidding me.
Why would I?
How the hell did it not? I'm just curious how they. Like, I know that they took the Kolchak stuff and they packaged that into movies, which is really funny to watch.
Oh yeah. When he's like, I gotta go get a moss monster. Maybe there's a UFO.
They're so fucking funny because they just arbitrarily said, sleep deprivation episode and mummy.
But that was
Chopper and Jack the Ripper, and he's like, and he got paid to fucking narrate all the bad bridging stuff of him driving and looking at his map and stuff like that, you know, that stuff, and going, I realized that I had to go see the werewolf on a boat.
How many days out of the year can you have a top down in Chicago, right, in your convertible? But his
all of them
is always down.
That's how he washed his suit.
What a weird choice that is for TV. Look, the guy can change his fucking clothes. He changes them in the TV movies. He does wear different shit. And the idea that he could only wear the exact same clothes.
It's like he's an Hanna-Barbera character. They don't want to pay for another design and paint some more cells. He's like a cartoon character, you know? Hello.
Whoa.
He's like, you know, Freddy or Shaggy. I mean, this is what he wears. Go to a wedding, you wear the green shirt and the kerchief, you know? It is weird. I mean, I get, you know, Columbo does change his clothes for the event.
Well, he also, there's episodes where he's the one where he's on the boat.
Right.
When I think of the Mexican one when he's the Ricardo Montalban, I think he's not always wearing that outfit.
Does Kolchak change his clothes when he's on the ship? Because that would be
I don't think so. Hey, let's look this up.
If he's walking around with the hat and the little camera hanging around his neck all the time, that's fucked up. That's actually a terrible episode that works just because all the actors seem to be having a good time. The girl who plays his temporary girlfriend is really cool. I really like her. And Dick Gautier is actually very funny as the swinger. But the monster part of the show is terrible. You get Henry Jones as the captain, who absolutely has no shits to give. He's actually more effective than all the police captains because he could hang him or something crazy like that. You know, he's a ship's captain. He could kill him. But if he's wearing the camera,
I've got pictures from the IMDb, and it mostly looks like, hello.
No, Pirate Kitty. I'm going to see if Pirate Kitty will probably come back. Where's Winky? Winky, she just ate, and I'm hoping she'll come up onto the desk. But Winky's in the room.
Wings of Desire. I want to rewatch Wings.
I've never seen it, which is ridiculous.
Carl is a huge fan.
Yeah.
Of what's his name?
Wim.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it because I knew I'd mispronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Mr. Wenders. Oh, hold on. This won't last long because Winky does not like to be on. Does not like to get picked up. But hi, here's
little cutie.
Winky. Winky Dink and me, Winky Dink.
Hello.
Always have a lot of fun together. Winky Dink and me. That song has like 3. Ow! 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 Ow!
That
Winky
song has 3 hours.
Ow! That song has like the same. Well, Winky Dink and me. Can you see her? Yay! Yes. I saw a little face. Winky, the pirate cat. Woo! Yeah, she hurt me. She doesn't hurt me too badly usually. She's a very, very gentle cat. More or less.
Yeah, you probably don't fucking put her live on the internet singing like a lunatic.
I wasn't singing like a lunatic.
That's a matter of opinion.
How dare you?
How dare you?
This is an outrage.
Okay, let's investigate.
Yes. Hey, Vincenzo.
Let's investigate some pictures on the IMDb of the episode, The Werewolf. So there he is on a ship with the suit. There's 5 pictures.
Okay.
I could also probably find other things, right? No,
shit, he's wearing the fucking suit.
He's in the suit, and there's the strap.
No.
So there's the strap.
Well, he's supposed to be doing a story.
He could take the werewolf guy could take his fucking shirt off. This guy who's from the 40s, there he is. He can't do it.
He's wearing amazing. He's not wearing his hat, though. He's not wearing his hat. He took his hat off.
Milo was being rambunctious, but I think he's upstairs now. He might be with the missus.
If I could move my camera, you could all see the joy of a cat shitting in my studio in the litter box. But
right,
we're not that kind of show, folks.
Yet.
If I get up in a minute, it's because it was a stinker and I need to get it removed immediately.
Is there anything more you need to share?
What is going on with my hair today? It's so bad. I just got out of the shower. That's why I'm all red-faced, because I shaved and it's like burning like Krypton. I love that kitty. LG, right? I think it was LG was the name that I heard. Little girl. I always wonder about that kitty. People send me pictures of their one-eyed cats lately, which is really adorable. Yeah, I like that a lot. The no-headed cat, that was creepy.
Really? Was it holding its head?
Like, yeah, just under its arm, like in
right. That's weird.
I think it was a costume. I think you can get that at PetSmart now.
Oh man.
They should have pet dumb for like most pets really are kind of stupid. And you can have like death traps and shit to see if they get out. Escape rooms for dumb pets.
Yeah. I don't know if that would find funding.
You could put it in those Spirit of Halloween joints for a day or two. They could have a kiosk.
So if I have a dumb cat, and I want to buy dumb cat things for it, I have to find a seasonal retail store.
It's a niche. What do you want? Everything in today's economy? I mean, come on.
What do you want?
People are dying.
35 cents. You want to live forever?
You want a whole place? Not in Staten Island.
Look who's here.
John. Hello, John.
Hi, John. God, I'm trying to think. What did
Who was Ham?
What? I'll put it back on.
Laugh out loud. Ham always took his hat off for the ladies. Is Kolchak's name Ham in some of the fan fiction or something?
I don't know. Now, how long have you known Johnrafferty?
Decades, since the 80s.
Yeah, like 80.
Fantastic store.
Well, but he worked. Didn't he work? John, didn't you work in that game store in the mall first?
I didn't meet a lot of the people.
I feel like I met him there first.
At what, Game World?
Yeah.
I only went to Game World like once with Pat, I think, and I didn't really know anybody then, or I may have gone and not known even Pat at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I went to Game World kind of on my own a few times before, when I first moved out here, when I'd go to the mall. And I basically there was like foosball and shit. You know?
There was the sit down like Space Invaders or Pac-Man. They would have those.
I went down where's my cat? I went down a rabbit hole of looking up video games that I could not remember a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever. And I could not remember the name of that game. I still can't. The one that has the one that's totally Star Wars, but it's not. You know, it had TIE fighters, and when you'd shoot them, they'd split into 4 pieces because the graphics were really primitive. They had the sit-down version at the arcade in the Nathans that Kevin Branciforte used to work at.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Where was that? Nathans?
That was at Highland Shop. It was the Highland. It was next to the Highland Shopping Center, the Masters. It was up in the front. It's now a bank, and I forget what else is there. Oh, actually, it might be a medical, one of those walk-in, you know,
urgent care
places, and a bank right now.
Yeah,
it was right on the sidewalk at Highland Boulevard. I'd go right down from. Everybody would leave Newdorp High School, walk down to there, and play video games. I got thrown out once for banging on the glass on one of the games too hard.
No.
They had some games, but I would just sit there and waste my money all day. And Masters had video games too, so if you were bored, you'd leave the Nathans and then walk 20 feet to Masters.
Well, you were on the other side of the island. See, I was on the North Shore, so I went to Majors. Majors had an arcade in it, and that's where I spent so much fucking money as a kid.
Battlezone. Oh, Battlezone was hard though. So that's what I was looking up. I started looking up vector graphics games because I could not remember the name of, and I already forgot it. So I remembered Battlezone. I remembered Rear Gunner, I think it was called.
Okay.
It was a weird one. You were in Tail Gunner, not Rear Gunner. Tail Gunner was you were shooting stuff that was coming from behind your ship, and you had a toggle switch and a defense shield that would bounce things back, and then you could shoot her. I think we did have that game in the Fantastic Store, and then eventually I think we got the Empire Strikes Back game, the sit-down one in the Fantastic Store. And we had Marble Madness. I remember we had Marble Madness. We had Ghouls and Goblins, which was great. Ghosts and Goblins, which I really liked a lot. And Mr. Do. Hanley loved his Mr. Do. He could sit and play Mr. Do. And I think they had the one with the hang glider. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
You get with that one. So I was looking up all those. There was one where you have 2 Jeeps and it's a top-down view, and the graphics were really difficult for them to do, so they didn't even have a background. It was a slap-down physical background that was put over the screen to be the maze, and you'd have 2 Jeeps going around shooting at tanks and helicopters, and it was that weird vector graphics where everything was very bright lines, like. Space War with you had the early Space War Battle Zone where everything was gridded.
Right.
Tempest, which I really liked, and but I couldn't remember the name of the one where you would. Do you remember one where it was a top-down view of 2 guys in 2 knights in armor?
Oh, oh, geez, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
There were 2 pits, and you could fall in the pit. You could either push the person in the pit, or you would fight and knock each other around and finally kill each other. And I've already forgotten names of them.
Right, and also asteroids.
Oh,
right?
Of course.
That's it.
Asteroids was the big Asteroids was such a time suck. Oh my god. But I really liked those. The fact Star Castle. Do you remember Star Castle? That was a really neat one.
Yeah.
It was so weird because the deli that was on the block where my bus let me off to go home had a little room in the back where they had like 10 video games, Berserk, Star Castle, and then you had the mall.
Oh well, yeah, the mall was that
Oh,
right. Do you remember they had in the mall there was a game? It looked like it was a pinball type design, but you would shoot ball bearings at shit, right? It was this weird target game. They had little pistols.
It sounds kind of familiar. Yeah, you were shooting them like pachinko balls or something.
Right,
like that.
and the thing was that game was broken, so you could always hit the start button and play. So when you ran out of money, you would just
go
stay
play
there.
this.
Yeah,
shoot the balls. Do you remember the Hercules pinball machine?
That's exactly what popped into my mind because Hercules is the craziest thing of all time.
Hercules makes me think it was a pinball designed by SCTV. Because like I feel like whenever I think of the Hercules game, I feel like I think of the guys who are holding John Candy up, dressed as Peter Pan in that sketch. Because I felt like it took 6-7 kids to move the flipper on that game to get that ball, because the ball was like the size of a
ping pong ball.
No, it was huge. It was
billiard ball.
Ski ball. It was like the size of a ski ball or a billiard ball. Yeah, it was big, and the flippers just kind of like it would lip it. It didn't respond. The flippers were not fast. You did not shoot that. It was like using a log to push a basketball.
Well, yeah, it was against that was against nature. That's too.
It cost $1, so everyone I knew played it once.
Yeah.
Fucking $1. And it was kind of like it was like over in a second. I know I played it once, and it was the most like Ralphie moment. It was just shoot your eyes out, kid. Like, where do those things exist right now? There's got to be in a couple of collections.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was terrible. You had to be Hercules to move the fucking flippers. Awful. Yeah, timeout. I would just sit in timeout for hours on the weekends because I took 2 buses to get there, which took like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was seedy. There were always all these older kids who were just preying on the younger kids. It was like Mose Eisley for quarters. You know what I mean? It was like,
oh yeah,
it was smoky. All the kids it was full of smoke.
Oh yeah, the '80s was amazing.
What a time! How did we not lose like dozens of children in every neighborhood a day?
I think we did. I don't think we just remember them.
You know why? Because we were too busy playing video games. We were like, "Hey, I think somebody took Joey. Fuck it, I'm on level 6. I'm on the second level of Sinistar, which I could never beat. Sinistar was amazing because what was the other? Scramble. Do you remember Scramble?
No.
Scramble was insane. It was a scrolling game where you had a ship that could drop bombs and shoot. And I think Hanley might have had this at the Fantastic Store for a while. And you had to go through mazes, and it was really hard because you'd have to back up to match the movement of the scrolling city to get through it. You drop bombs to destroy missile sites. It was really hard. I forget. So yeah, I spent like 2-3 hours just looking up because it couldn't stop. It was literally once I found a game, it would make me think of another game. Arkanoid leads to Breakout, leads to the one where you play with 4 castles, the Breakout game where you.
Oh yeah, right, sure.
But I couldn't remember the name of that one, and I still can't. Shit. Does anybody remember the name of that one? You're playing Pong against 3 other castles, and you can catch the ball, and you have to destroy the bricks, and then destroy the. I forget what it was. Everybody has a little symbol inside their castle, and if the ball hits it, you're out of the game for that round, and the last person to survive wins. And it was a 4-player game, and I remember first seeing it at Playland, Arsenal. I don't know. That doesn't sound right, but I remember seeing it going to a convention whenever I used to go to the conventions at the Penta Hotel, or Statler Hilton, the same one, the Pennsylvania. when I was a kid because it was the 80s and 70s. So you just go, hey, Mom, I'm going to New York City for an undetermined amount of hours with adults. I'm going to go on a bus, and then I'm going to take a train. I'm going to go to a hotel. There's going to be a lot of creepy men selling weird shit.
Right.
And then I'm going to be home at some point in time. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I also might go to Playland afterwards in Times Square with the scumbags. So see you in a day or two, Mom. I'm 12, 13.
Yeah.
And if you got in early enough before to go walking over to the hotel, I'd go to Playland. And that game was so much fun that I almost didn't go to the convention that day. I was just stuck in front of that goddamn the games anytime because new games were coming out. How much? Who the hell knows? Not as much as on beer, on alcohol. I kind of wish I spent all the alcohol money because I had fun with the games. Like I'm not going on Wikipedia looking up the alcohol I drank, you know.
Right, and then looking up White Castle.
Alabama Slammer. Let's see. Alabama Slammer. Long Island iced tea. Sex on a beach. Nope. I'm looking up what's the game with the 4 castles.
Oh, Christ.
Oh my God. I love that stuff. But that was just, I mean, that was a heady time to be alive. I mean, I guess it's always a heady time to be alive, except right now it's a terrifying time. Can you imagine being 13 years old now?
Oh, no.
I'd go mad. I'd go out of my fucking mind.
Well, do you know the story? The only time I think I was conned out of money was at 42nd Street.
No.
I went, me and Gary the Scumbag.
Gary the Scumbag.
Gary the Scumbag.
He was in his natural element.
Gary the Scumbag and I went to 42nd Street to buy fake IDs. And I don't know how old we were. I would, 17, and I think the company. Yes, yeah.
Maybe you were 5. It's funnier,
right? And we met guys that says, "Oh, we could take you to do it. We need, you got to give us $20, but you got to give it to us now."
Didn't all those places like Playland have an actual photo booth for IDs?
But this was the thing.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the problem was those things.
Like a page.
Right, but those things would have things like, fake or phony or funny, and you had to go to the
funny ID.
Yeah, you got to go to the special guys to get the ones to get you into bars.
Right.
And so what happened is there were 2 guys and 2 of us, and we gave them money, and then they separated us.
Oh shit!
And then took us in and out of buildings to get us lost.
How much did you give them? That's too much work.
It was like $20.
Holy shit!
That's
a good amount of money back then. That's worth it.
Yeah, and I found Gary the Scumbag wandered out of a peep show. They had put him in. They said, "Wait here," and they put him in a peep show.
He got some of his money's worth.
I know. I was just
Where'd they take you to, a dentist?
No, I was gonna buy those little turtles with salmonella.
Oh, the ones that they paint on the back. They paint the thing on the back of the turtle.
I don't remember them painting
carnivals.
No. On the streets in Manhattan, don't you remember there were these little things filled with turtles?
No.
It was another time.
How
about those little crawling soldier guys? Do you remember? The turtles were next to those guys.
I always wanted that the writhing soldier guy. It looked so painful to work that way. I was like, that's why I never went into the army. I was afraid that they make you do that.
Exactly.
He made so much noise. Oh my God, it was in so much pain. Poor army man. Plus, why is he crawling? You could hear his motor from a mile away.
Well, I think he's trying to keep a low profile because it's warm.
Why is he in the middle of Times Square?
I don't know.
What a stupid soldier.
Yeah. This is all the stuff that gets cut out of the podcast. Usually.
What was the name of that game with the 4 castles?
I don't know.
Not Vanguard, not Yar's Revenge. That was the Atari thing. Video games are so fucking. Whenever something's the Wild West where they don't know what they're doing, and then you find out that Super Mario was supposed to be Popeye, but they couldn't get the rights. And that's where the Popeye game comes from years later, that they finally made a Popeye game, which was that game. They had that at Time Out in the Mall. That was a way too difficult game. Bluto punching your ass all over the place. You had to catch hearts, remember?
No, I don't think I've ever played this.
It's on a ship, and you have levels, and you have to constantly run up and down the ship and avoid Bluto throwing shit at you and odd things happening, and you have to collect enough hearts that you could like go eat spinach or something. It was really, really hard. I couldn't stand it. It felt like you were being bullied. It was like a game where you were just getting bullied. Bluto would just keep coming and beating the shit out of you. Not a fan.
No.
Not a fan. I wanted to win. What's the other one? Do you remember a game called Food Fight?
No, sure.
Food Fight was funny, but it was always broken. It was one of those toggle switch games, which broke a lot. You remember Black Widow?
Yes.
That was a good game. That was a vector game. That one was wild. Bugs that exploded. It was not. You shouldn't learn about insects because you think that they really were bugs. Stink bugs. They had stink bugs, and then they had bugs that if you shot them, they exploded.
Well,
it turns out that's fake.
I was thinking about the Tron games the other day. The Tron-related games.
Both of them are excellent.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Better than the movie.
Everything's better than the movie. That movie stinks.
The Krull game was much better than the movie, but I haven't seen Krull. But I'm just saying that to be an internet jackal.
I think Krull is charming as heck, Evan.
Really? The game or the
No, the movie. I think it works.
Oh.
You
get to throw the glaive and build the glaive and shit. The Tron disc game was amazing. Badly. Elf needs food. Fucking Paul Girardi, man. Anytime somebody mentions Gauntlet, this is why I didn't mention Gauntlet, because we had a Gauntlet at the Eltingville store at Jim Hanley's Universe. He got the Gauntlet, and I swear to God he got the Gauntlet game just to suck all the money he paid us, because anytime the store would close, we'd be playing Gauntlet. We had a party, 4 people would be on Gauntlet, and that thing was a money hole.
Oh God, yeah.
Now, I've seen videos, and I've seen people who know how to play it. Like one person can go through it on a quarter. They're nuts, because the way that you play is you just push the joystick forward, press the button a lot,
right,
and then put it in another quarter.
Right.
Gauntlet. It was the NFT of its day, or whatever the fuck.
Right.
It was just here's money. Fucking Paul Girardi somehow always ate the food. Always took the potion.
The Sunny Doodles and the
if he didn't need it, he took it anyway. And so this is what you do. This is how you be playing Gauntlet. Boom, boom. Elf needs food. Wizard got the food. Paul. What I forget what the lady's name. Valkyrie needs potion. Wizard got the potion. Paul.
I know. He wasn't
potion.
He wasn't a team player.
The whole fucking game. And he goes, "What can I tell you? What can I do? I'm right there."
And was it Millionaire that had the multi-ball?
Yeah. Millionaire was a good game. Tom Morrissey loved Millionaire. He felt like he was a millionaire playing Millionaire. 8-Ball Deluxe, that was a good one.
Is it possibly Warlords?
I think it was. I think that was it. Warlords. And they had an Atari version of it too. But nobody I knew had 3 friends who could come over at the same time. So don't buy the second set of paddles. Yeah, Warlords sounds right. That was a wild game. Plus, I mean, we're in our 50s. You go back, and the Warlords of the Gauntlet cabinet shows up, and it's just like seeing an 18-wheeler truck in your driveway. It's like, what on earth can this game be that has 4 sets of controls? And even if the game sucks, you just have to start playing it. Yeah, Warlords was amazing. But I really distinctly have a very sharp memory of getting to the city at around 9 o'clock in the morning. And while walking to the hotel for the Star Trek or the comic book convention. Yep, that's it. Yeah. Warlords was such a time and money suck that I didn't want to go to the convention. That's how much I was enjoying it. How wild it was to have a new game out that was clearly knocking. I mean, people 8 deep watching this game. You remember that? when those games would come, and they put up screens sometimes above it. I know they did that a lot later with fighting games, like Street Fighter and all those games, the Virtua Fighter and all that. But I mean, you'd go to the arcade and you'd be fine with just watching the older kids, the ones who had cigarette packs on their shoulder, like Fonzie or some shit like that. I don't know.
Was it the 50s you were going to?
No, they still did it though.
Sock hops after the sock hops?
There was no sock hop. There was no ice cream social. There was just, one guy hogging the fucking Space Ace, one guy hogging the Missile Command. It'd be ridiculous. You'd be like, you can't. And then they do put your quarter. All right, I got my quarter up. You got 20 quarters up. That's not fair, dude. I'm bigger than you. So you end up playing Mr. Do because nobody wanted to play Mr. Do or Dig Dug. But I like those games. So what the hell? Mr. Do's Wild Ride. He was on a roller coaster or something like that. Dig Dug was good. Oh God, I love video games. Do you remember here's one I can't remember the name of because I played it with a crazy person. The one where the one that was just a gore fest. You had a rifle and you had to shoot bats and victims who were hanging, and it was gory as shit. And you literally, as you shot them apart, body parts and pieces, it had like 5 scenarios, and it was the most disgusting, violent. They had it at Barcade on St. Mark's Place a couple of years back, but it was a legitimate, horrible. It was practically like a snuff video game. I mean, it was very fake looking, but you'd shoot somebody who was on the rack, and the guts would be exposed with each shot. And you were basically trying to rack up as many points. Bottles would get thrown at you. Blood would be dripping. There'd be like it looked like a Hideshi Hino comic. There'd be a river of blood like in hell and body parts, and you'd shoot the body parts. It was the most demented fucking thing.
That's interesting. Arcades were such a part of life for us growing up. We hit that time.
If I remember correctly, when I was really deep into pinball, they'd have pinball in the UK. For a while, the UK was a big importer of pinball machines. But yeah, I don't remember. I don't know.
Is it Chiller?
Oh Jesus, Dan! Dan, what the fuck have you been doing? You've been playing every game. Yeah, Chiller was disgusting. Chiller was just disgusting. And the thing is, you'd be gleefully shooting people who were already in bad shape. You'd be shooting a guy who was hanging from chains. Oh, it was so gross. And it had all these really terrible, like, horror host opening screams, like, from records, like, ooh, what a grotesque. No wonder this country is so fucked.
That's what did it. It was the video games.
We all wanted the zombie apocalypse. We're going to get it soon, too. Chiller. That was a good one. Ghosts and Goblins was cool, but I could never finish it. I love Ghosts and Goblins because you got extra chances, because if something smashed you, you'd get knocked out of your armor. And I think if it smashed you again, you were in your underwear, which was, that's top humor for the video game era.
And what was it, Gauntlet, where you were in the
Gauntlet was the 4.
Not Gauntlet.
Warlords.
Where you would knock the armor off.
That's the one.
Ching, ching.
That's the one I'm talking about. That's the one that had the top-down view of 2 guys in armor, and if you hit somebody, their armor would come off.
Because we had that at Hanley's.
I don't remember now. I remember Ghosts and Goblins, but you would basically piece the other person until you finally.
Maybe we're thinking of something else.
We might be thinking of something else, but I do remember a game where the armor would come off.
Yeah.
I also remember Ronnie Hill always used to play the game with the Kung Fu game.
Oh, yeah. Karate Champ.
Full point.
Stop.
Half point.
Judge.
Stop. Judge.
It was the greatest thing in the world. Yeah.
It's like now you'd have no patience for it. You'd be like, stop. Come on. But then you were like you were bated breath. Like you were on the tip of your heels. Oh my God, did I get a full point? 4 minutes later, half point. Oh, so exciting. This is the most exciting day of my life. You remember there was a wrestling game? There was a wrestling game that took about 8 hours for every move to be completed. Like you go, Brain Buster. And it was like, and
we had when I went to
Buster.
When I went to Moore, when you were a senior at Moore Catholic High School, you were allowed to go off campus, and there was a Blimpie that had video games in it, and they had Karate Champ and that was the first in that parking lot was the first place I ever rented X-rated videotapes. Remember, because there was a store that would rent you stuff from behind the counter. And we would go there in our Catholic school boy outfits, our ties and our sweaters, and go in there. And the guy would give you a binder, and you would pick out movies and rent them to, 16
What's
and 17.
This one about, sir? Hole fucker.
I mean, this is not a good thing, right?
No, so you and Gary the Scumbag are trying to get fake IDs. You're renting porno.
I wasn't renting porno with Gary. I don't think he had an in at that place.
That's right. You had the Catholic connection there. We know you're going to be either a mobster, a cop, or a priest, so we'll let you in. You're going to be the future of Staten Island. So you're doing all this. You know what I was doing? I was putting Legos together or some shit like that. You had some. I was like, I would never have gone near any of that stuff. Hello, Roger. Hello.
Really, you weren't. I can't believe that you weren't a real pain in the ass at 16 and 17.
I was a real pain in the ass, but I was absolutely almost. I was practically straight edge, without being a. I didn't drink. I didn't. After I got a job at McDonald's and was hanging out with people from the McDonald's, then they'd have to haul me around drunk in the back of cars, and because I drink a bottle of wine at one shot. I'd buy two white bottles of white Reuniti, and by the time we got from the liquor store on Richmond Road to Midland Beach, I had already finished a bottle in the back of someone's car.
That's horrible. I thought we were bad buying Lowenbrow to bring into the movies.
But that's a special night, Lowenbrow.
Every night was a special night when you're young.
I did not have special nights on the Reuniti. Reuniti on ice might have been nice, but I drank it twice without ice. I just do this. It was just a terrible ritual. We'd walk out of the one liquor store, and then everybody would go, "Here you go," and I would just down the entire bottle in one shot. And then I'd be on the beach crying like 3 hours later about nobody likes me. It's like, yeah, because you're drinking 2 bottles of Reuniti, you asshole, you fucking slob. Oh my God,
so weird.
But I didn't do. Yeah, the worst time I think I've talked about this on the podcast. The worst drunk I had when I was. After this crew, because Dave, I was like, well, how do you drink? I guess in the movies you drink, you go scotch. Give me a scotch. Give me a beer. So I got a pint. I was like, I never really liked beer. I was always drinking, wine or some dumb drink. So we would go to the movie. We were going to go hang out and then go to the movies. So I just said, I'll get a pint of scotch. And I got it from the liquor store that was at the Highland Shopping Plaza. And which is also the first bar I think I ever went to, and they had an old man bar there. And I drank like, I don't know, a quarter of this thing because I think, oh, that's how you're supposed to drink it. I'll have some of this whiskey, scotch, or whatever the fuck it was. That was the worst decision of my life. It was just like, this is horrible. Being an adult I don't want to be an adult. I don't want to drink. And the next thing I knew, I was in the movie theater and I was feeling sick. And we went to see a Chuck Norris film. I had to get drunk to go see a Chuck Norris film because I hate him.
The Octagon?
It might have been.
Good Guys Wear Black?
It was a movie. I only remember the credits. It was impressionistic. It was like black figures on a red background, and they were like posing.
Were they ninja outfits?
There probably were ninja outfits, but I had to go to the bathroom, and then I passed out in the bathroom, and I passed out so that nobody could use either stall at the Ray Theater. My head and shoulders were in one stall, and the bottom of my butt and my legs were in the other stall, and I was just like, it's like if it was an old movie, there'd be a bad cut, then you'd hear birds chirping, and I was just like, and I had the bottle, and the door opens up eventually, and somebody wakes me up, and it's Jim Ciccarelli, who was an actual professional alcoholic at the age of like 17. He goes, Evan, what the hell are you doing? I don't feel so good. I drank. You gonna drink that? No. He takes the bottle away from me. He took the bottle away from me. So this was an opportunistic. It was a good night for him, for Jim. And he took me back to my seat, and I fell asleep. And then when somebody elbowed me to wake up, I threw up on the seat in front of me, and we left.
Oh.
Well, I was a real wonderful child.
Yeah, my worst drunk story is after high school, right? I was hanging out. There was a bunch of guys I was hanging out with. They were the heavy metal guys on Staten Island. They had bands that played at the Park Villa and shit. And,
oh yeah, we opened for cities.
yeah. The drummer.
We're going to the
Twisted
Park
Sister.
We're going to the Park Villa.
Right. So there's a party at these guys' house, and it was one of these families where everyone was cool with the kids drinking and smoking pot, and everybody was just having a good time.
Yeah.
And I was sitting down at the kitchen table with Billy DeVita, and I said, how long would it take for us to drink this bottle of tequila?
Ooh.
So we drank it as fast as we could.
Yeah.
And then I have these weird memories, and I woke up nude in my bed the next day.
Wait a second. Now, where was Jim DeVila?
Billy, I don't know. He got home. Yeah, he was fine.
Sure?
No, Gary the scumbag actually got me home.
Oh, that's nice.
And dragged me into my house, and my father undressed me and put me in bed. Yeah.
I thought Gary the scumbag undressed you because he's like, I got to do something scumbaggy. I mean, I got you home, which was nice, but I'm going to lose my scumbag title. So I guess I'll just denude you.
I know, because the ranking of scumbag could go down.
Yeah, it's true. The scumbag listings, they were in the back of All Pro Wrestling magazine.
Yeah.
Greg the Hammer Valentine was just ahead of Gary the scumbag.
Terrible times.
Well, I was a miserable drunk because I was just unhappy and didn't know what the hell, where was my place in life? Where was my place in life?
And you grew up and you found it. Now everything's fine.
But now I got Winky the cat. Hi, baby. Can you follow me? Wee. Winky. Not that, Winky. Hi, baby. Want to get on the desk? Uh-oh. She does this to me and Ace. She will get on our back.
Well, you
and now she's sitting there. Well, this is now, Winky is now going to host the rest of the show.
Aw.
Apparently.
Has Winky seen any movies lately that she liked?
Yes, Winky has seen movies lately. She, like I said, she did not like the guinea pig movies.
Right.
I can't say that I enjoy them. Nope. But we've been watching. Last night we watched 4 movies.
Okay.
I basically tuned out. I had a long day, and I hurt my back doing cutting up cardboard for like an hour. I can't see anything because I am Winky, would you get off me now? Now this is not funny anymore. My back hurts. Winky, she's settling. This is bullshit. Winky, no.
I can't understand how she doesn't understand your English.
And we talked about this. Get it? It's a joke. Winky.
Oh, wait, are you doing a bit?
No, I'm in a lot of pain right now, actually. Winky, get off me. Winky, this is not proper entertainment in the 21st century. Winky, get off my Winky, what are you doing? Winky, thank you. Oh, God. Hi, sweetie. That hurt. My neck is killing me now, sweetie. Oh, yeah. I watched. You know what? I ended up watching a lot of Bill Rebane films. Not somebody whose name I was familiar with, but I was familiar with his work.
I feel like I just was watching some shit.
Did you ever have a night where you watch something and then you're like, you're going through Plex or Tubi? Because I've been going through some of the Plex free stuff too. Because there's a lot of trash there that's fun. And you're like, you watch movie A, and you're like, that was Weird. Okay,
Right.
and then you flip, and then randomly you end up watching movie B, and it has a connection to movie A. It's either like the same director or a lot of the same actors. I find that happens.
Sure. All the
I mean,
time.
but it's weird that it's somebody who only made like 10 films and you like choose 2 of their films in one night randomly. They're not next to each other. They're not recommended to you. So I ended up, what was it last night that I ended up watching? Well, this is the thing. I ended up seeing John Carradine like 4 times in the last few days. He narrates a terrible film called Gallery of Horror.
Oh, is that which one is that?
Is
that the
It's a late 60s, anthology of 4 stories, which are terrible. And they all take place basically on one set.
Okay.
And it's like watching Monster Horror Dinner Theater with John Carradine as your host.
Okay.
And Frankenstein's, it's such a nondescript, awful movie. But the 2 movies that I ended up, what was it? I'm trying to, thanks, Kitty. Oh, this is what I ended up watching. I ended up watching 2 movies by the same director, and they had nothing to do with each other. Nightmare in Wax.
Okay.
Which is a movie that's famous in my brain only because there's a picture of Cameron Mitchell in it in the Psychotronic. And I always confuse it with the picture in Psychotronic that's from Planet of the Vampires. Very similar looking dude. This is the one where it's Cameron Mitchell with an eye patch and a very bad wax disfigurement. The same guy who made that, his next film is Terror at Red Wolf Inn.
Oh, I can't get through that. Or is that? I gotta look everything up. I'm so old.
I know, that's the thing. I forget everything even after I just watched it. So it turns out that's his next movie. And while Terror at Red Wolf Inn is not a good movie, it's interesting. I found myself really frustrated with it. Then by the end, I kind of wanted to like it, if you know what I mean. I'm like, be more better.
But yes, I never get through this movie.
Both of his movies, I found Nightmare in Wax and Terror at Red Wolf Inn entertaining enough, but both of them kind of was like, I felt like as a viewer, I was begging this director. You hear her?
No, not at all.
I felt like I was watching them and the director's making the worst possible choices for my entertainment. Like Nightmare in Wax has a horrible ending. It's just such a pulpy, dumb movie, but it kind of works as a pulpy, dumb. But I also got things out of it. Like one of the actors is a radio actor, Barry Kroger, so it was interesting to see that. But Terror at Red Wolf Inn is something that I remember reading about ways back, and it's basically, it's not giving anything away because the poster gives it away and the movie gives it away, but it's a cannibal movie.
All right, and the trailers kind of give it some, because this is under like 1,000 fucking names. This movie. It's
the folks at Red Wolf Inn,
right?
Terror House. They re-released it on several double bills when I looked it up, and I couldn't remember the name of the director. He's not very good, but Nightmare in Wax is kind of like if Mario Bava had a heart attack and a stroke, and then they gave him $50 and said, "Why don't you and Cameron Mitchell make another movie?" And you have 3 days.
Whoa!
Hi, Winky. She's not.
Evan.
Yeah, Serpentine. It's an interesting movie because he's trying to do something that with there. It doesn't work, but it looks like people are having a good time. Terror at the Red Wolf Inn is so weird because the whole movie, you know, this is gonna sound weird. Like I have a problem with cannibal movies, not just the ones like Cannibal Ferox. Funny enough, though,
do you find a squeamishness to it? Is that your adversity? So
no.
What don't you like about them?
What I don't like about them there's 2 things I don't like about them. One, they almost always have the same fucking plot. I mean, they're almost always, the whole thing is they're cannibals. It's like a joke. You know what I mean? And the other thing is that the movie's predicated on you figuring this out. But like, it's always, you're never surprised by it. Okay. Because even if I did not know what Terror at the Red Wolf Inn was about. I put it on, there it is, and I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, cannibals, within like a few minutes. And the movie then pounds. I mean, the interesting thing about the movie is that it's 2 years before Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right. I was going to say where Texas Chainsaw Massacre really works with that. I mean, really, the cannibal aspect of that isn't. Yeah.
It's not important. It's not, yes,
but it's a central part of the mythos, but it's not.
It's not, holy shit, don't tell anybody what this movie's about. The movie's about being fucking frightening and crazy. And Terror at Red Wolf Inn only works when it gets crazy, which is only really once or twice.
Okay.
That's in the character of the son. And the thing is, cannibal movies always go two ways. One, the cannibal movies always have to be two types of movies. It's, dark humor and urbane because they're doing it under cover of being genteel people, like Parents, the movie Parents. We're regular folks, and that's what Terror of the Red. People wouldn't understand us, and they're making food, and everything's cute and happy, and life goes upon. They don't think there's anything wrong with what they do, or it's. Oh, well, I guess there's three cannibal movies. There's the Jungle Cannibal movie, which is white people fuck around and find out.
Right. There's also the zombie cannibal movie where they just make the zombies cannibals, like cannibal holocaust.
Right. Or there's the cannibal movie where it's like Texas Chainsaw, where it's
which is like Motel Hell, right?
Or Motel Hell is a lot. To be honest, Red Wolf Inn is a lot like Motel Hell, except it's not tongue in cheek.
But where are you on Motel Hell?
I like Motel Hell.
Yeah, I really.
I didn't like it when I first saw it as a kid because I had that problem with comedy horror movies. I found the idea of making fun of all this stuff. Like I liked it, even in EC horror comics. I found the wink and a nod and the black humor about people killing each other and eating each other or being I found that very disturbing. That you could be funny, that you could make light of murder and killing. And once I got over that, it's why I had a weird reaction to Return of the Living Dead when I first saw it. But I saw Motel Hell on Wometco when I was like 13, 14 or whatever, 15. And I found it didn't work for me because I was too freaked out by the fact that they thought this was funny. I was like, what kind of sick people thinks this is funny? So I wasn't able to pay attention to the movie. When I rewatched it, I thought it was really funny. I liked it a lot. A lot of people gave it shit because it was a major release from, it was kind of felt like it was
well, yeah, but there's that sort of horror, like I can't think. Fade to Black or something like that. That looks like it's got a little more money and better cameras or something.
Yeah. But Motel Hell still has a perversity to it.
Oh yeah, it's fucking crazy.
And and even though it has, the thing is, it overcomes its slickness with its sickness, I guess, because yes, I'm seeing Bobby Van's wife, and here's I recognize a lot of the actors in it, but it is totally, there's a lot of memorable stuff in it, and yeah, Texas Chainsaw's in there and everything, but they did a good enough, you know what I mean? They did a good enough job. The pig head is creepy as shit,
right,
and it's a nasty little movie.
Oh yeah,
and the thing is, Red Wolf Inn goes for that, but Red Wolf Inn is kind of boring. And you really spend about a fourth of this movie with the people eating it, like you're getting elbowed. Hey, they're eating. I mean, the movie literally, it's not spoiling anything. The movie literally is like a girl gets a phone call, a phone call, and they say, you've won a vacation. You have to leave now. You'll take a plane flight. We can't tell you where you're going. The whole movie is predicated on the fact that they hoodwink people to coming to this inn. But their plan falls apart instantly if anybody calls their mother and says, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's just, they don't lock doors. There's 3 women in this place. They don't lock their doors. They say, don't go in there. Don't go in the walk-in freezer in the kitchen. It's like, it's just, the movie.
It seems to me that what you really don't like are cannibal movies where the twist is they're cannibals.
Because the whole movie goes to the punchline. Now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're cannibals, but you almost forget that they're going to be eaten. Well, because you were too busy worrying about the stalking the craziness, meeting new members of the family, getting caught. It's funny though, there are scenes that are similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. People don't seem to think that Tobe Hooper saw the film, but if you're enough into films that you're doing a podcast or watching one or listening to one, you could possibly watch Red Wolf Inn and go, let me give this points because it's 1972, so it's not working on the same tropes as all these films. If you saw this in 72, the problem is if you saw this in 72, you'd have to be a moron not to get it within 20 minutes. So the rest of the movie was frustrating and irritating to me because you're basically it's like somebody telling you an hour and 20-minute joke.
Yeah. Oh no, I find that very frustrating in movies I watch today, where it's like you see a trailer and the movie's about the wife becomes a vampire.
Right.
So
the movie acts as if you didn't see the trailer and know all the press about it.
Right. So I have to, if you're going to give me 40 minutes before she's a vampire or he's whatever's going on, you have to make that 40 more minutes interesting to me.
That's the thing.
Because
Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Motel Hell, and I'm sure there are other things. The movies that are more successful about cannibals, where the cannibalism is a component to the movie.
Right.
There's also funny stuff, creepy stuff, scary, memorable stuff, other than, hey, guess what? Because then it just almost becomes a Shaggy Dog story. It's just like, and we're cannibals. And you're like, we know. So you're watching the film and you're just basically filling in information. You're going, there were scenes, I was predicting scenes, I was literally predicting shots. I'm like watching the way that they're setting things up and I'm going, she's going to show up, she's going to come in from camera right and stand in the center, and the thing is, when you show people eating for literally 4 minutes straight in an hour and 18-minute movie or something like that, and then they eat 3 times every time, and it's just It doesn't work. The things that are interesting about it is there's a character named Baby John who they call Baby. The grandparents call Baby, and the guy who plays now the acting is actually pretty good. Okay. There are some scenes that work, but the whole thing is kind of like, let's get on with it. There is one fucking scene. You could find it on YouTube. It's interesting in that here's a cannibal movie. It's the shark scene. If you want to look on YouTube, it's like 1.5 minutes long.
Are you actually asking me to look for it?
If you'd like to find this, it'd be interesting because some people actually say this is the only scene you need to see. Okay. And in some ways you do. This is a scene where you just went, what the fuck? If this happened early on in the movie, you'd be like, I'm with this for the rest of the movie. Now, unfortunately, they actually kill a real animal, which is weird. What is it about cannibal films in the 70s? This is not a jungle cannibal film where they're always killing turtles, but they kill a fish. Yeah. In a very, it's dead. The ghost is out there or something. I'm not advocating this, but it's a shockingly bizarre scene.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of new wave Australian films.
That's interesting. I watched a documentary on that, and yeah, they're killing animals.
Yeah, there's fucking kangaroos don't have a chance in hell. Yeah. Holy shit, I hate that. Ugh.
I have real problems with it. Now the problem is, I thought the scene was excellent. But the scene also turned me off to the movie because, one of my favorite movies is Rules of the Game, and they shoot rabbits in it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I still think that even though it's about violence and how you deal with violence against animals and against humans in different ways, it was just, it's a sticking point for me. It always has been since I first saw it in the 80s. I wouldn't want. I'm not like people like, oh, they're. I'm like, I don't want to see a person hurt either. I don't think people should be killed on set either or hurt on set.
Oh well, people shouldn't in real life be hurt. No. There's no reason to do anything in a film that would put someone at jeopardy. You watch those like Ozploitation stuff. Those stunt.
It's interesting.
That are out of the fucking.
I just watched the documentary, the Not Quite Hollywood.
Oh, that's what made me watch Next to Kin. I love that documentary.
I've been wanting to watch that for a while, and it was like I have actually seen a few of the films in there, But it really is interesting. I thought the documentary was good, but I kind of would have liked them to go deeper into why they actually had such a silent movie era approach to people's lives. I mean, how insane are Australians? Those stuntmen who would just basically practically kill themselves.
But I almost feel like that's part of the culture. Like, you know, when I had talked about Wake and Fright, I mean, that's kind of what that's about. You know, the kind of isolated, drinking too much, nothing to do,
right.
kind
but
of.
To be honest, I would have preferred a little bit more going into that than watching Quentin Tarantino talk about what scenes he stole from Patrick and other movies. I can't understand. I was like, can there be anything that you can watch that doesn't have fucking Quentin Tarantino's drug-addled head in it going, oh yeah, I love that scene, and I stole it for this. And I'm like,
but there was,
I know you did. Go away.
But when you think about it, I mean, he's a guy, he knows his stuff, and pre-internet, and the fact that he brought this, you know, he made exploitation chic. So, you know, he's
so frustrating because I'm very frustrated by somebody who's like, yeah, I love this and I stole this and I love this and that's why I put this in here. And I'm just like, what? I mean, it just, to me, that just makes his films less interesting. That he just patchworks. Here, this is what I did for Kill. With The Bride, I did this, and I'm like, I haven't even seen these movies. All he does is take scenes from shit.
Well, what's weird now is because everything's become available and so many things are getting restored. That I was watching. I think it's what's the 3D Western? Coming at You.
Coming at You in 3D.
Right, and I believe it's that movie that I watched the beginning of, and I went, this really reminds me of the wedding scene in Kill Bill. And if I got the movie right, I looked it up, and it was supposedly
Kill Bill. Everything I've read about Kill Bill is that like every 20 minutes there's a new movie from his collection. You know, it's like.
Well, it does bend a lot of drama. I think the second one's better, much better than the first one, even though the first one is the one that has the action in it.
I have no interest in his movies, man. Anytime I see scenes from them, I go, "What's the big deal?" You know, I just don't get it. I just don't. I mean, I'm much more interested in seeing the films he talks about than the films he makes. You know, to me, he's like a Rob Zombie. I mean, he'd be a ton of fun to watch movies with. You know, if he wasn't zonked out of his mind, at least. But his own work holds no interest for me. It's like, you know, here's the taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 characters, and look, they're just talking about shit now. Here's City on Fire, and I'm like, I did not. That's the only one I sat all the way through, and I did not care for Reservoir Dogs. I just thought it was flexing. To me, it's the ultimate in everything is professional fandom now. That everything is made by people who only wanted to get into films and wanted to meet everybody in film and talk film and live film, and their language is film in every for good or for bad. And it's like,
but that was also, I mean, he was kind of the first to do that. So I think that's one of the reasons why it caught him.
I mean, it's true. I mean, he's the man. He's the one everybody wanted to be now. Yeah. You know, the one who, you know, every video clerk's dream is to either be Tarantino or Kevin Smith, God in heaven. You know, to be the, you know, that I watched a lot of movies and I'm going to make movies. And, you know, I have no life experience other than the movies that I watched to bounce my movies off of. You know, I mean, I'm not saying, in some ways that's good. I mean, I think it's good that we don't have the experience of, well, I was in the fucking war and then, you know, my parents died young and my town failed and I had to get a job. So I've had 18, you know, reading the bios of cartoonists and filmmakers and musicians is like exhausting. If you know what I mean. You know, I worked on a newspaper and I did this and then I had to go to war and then I had to travel with the, you know, and it's like, it's just, you know, I think it's great that we get to grow up and just go, I love cartoons, I'm going to make cartoons. I mean, but in some ways it stultifies some aspects of the filmmaking, especially for me nowadays, that everything is like, whoever, I've been thinking about this a lot, about why do I have such an aversion to putting on something from 2017 or 2012 that's on Tubi or, or Plex at why do I go for 1971 or 1975 or 82, and it's like something like this Red Wolf Inn piece of crap or these other films. They had no pretensions about these things. They knew that it was gonna, if they got lucky, it was gonna get distributed. If they got lucky, a few 100,000 people might see it, and then it was gone. It would not be part of anyone's book. It would not be part of discussion online. It would not be in a fanzine. Tim Lucas would not be talking about it. Chris Gore would not be talking about it. Harry Knowles would not be talking about it, whatever that guy was. Quentin Tarantino would not be bringing it up after 12 years and showing it to some people. It was just, there was no expectations. You know, the best expectation you could have is that you turned a profit for these producer bastards and you got to make another one. You know?
Well, we also live in a time.
I'm going to make 17 Hatchet movies.
You know, but I think we also live in a time now where it's kind of hard. One of the facets of movie reviews now seem to be how realistic the movie is. So even if you're writing and making a crazy, unrealistic thing that can't possibly exist in the real world, people have, you know, they're averse to it if it doesn't seem like, well, but no, handcuffs work this way and that. Right, and that seems to be the way everything works. Where the horror films that we seem to love, or especially the 70s and 80s stuff, we've always talked about was just crazy. Yeah. Everything was crazy. Yeah. Every other movie did something that was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, that's why I had such problems with House of the Devil, because I'm sorry, this is going to sound elitist or stupid, but most of the people who seem to like that movie like it for such superficial reasons, and they're young and they haven't seen the movies that it really emulates. I'm not saying that's everyone,
but that's how experience has to work. I mean, if you're all younger and you're experiencing this, it might, it has a quality that you go, oh, that's interesting. For us,
House of the Devil has absolutely, I can't think of a movie it reminds me of from the actual 80s or 70s. I'm like, what? There's nothing that actually left me going, what the fuck were they thinking? To me, it's all artifice, and it's all.
It honestly feels more like 2010 horror on, where you get a very small location, you get one or two locations, you get one or two players, and you slow burn a reaction.
Yeah, and you're very interested in what your camera's doing, and you've got these silent beats and these nervousness, and you've got the cringe scenes and things like that where things are really creepy and weird and off-putting, almost like Larry David horror or something like that, where it's like meeting the parents is weird and this, and you're left alone. And I'm like, but the movie has absolutely no, I mean, it has every understanding that it's going to be on streaming services and it's going to be on demand and that it's going to be around and it's going to be picked apart. It does not have a slam bang. I mean, I'll say one thing about Tarantino. He sort of does get the idea of, let's put crazy shit in here. He does, he delivers on those things of, you're supposed to have scenes that get talked about, and you're supposed to have stuff that comes out of nowhere if you want to emulate that feel of drive-in theater experience, of late night movie, of midnight movie, of Times Square, of cheap film. But I mean, if you want to make a movie that actually emulates the 70s and early 80s, you got to have a movie that like has Day for Night, that has shitty Day for Night, that has bad acting, that has things coming together that you can't really do.
It has to be chaotic. It has to be madness. You don't watch the beginning of Tourist Trap and think you've figured out that movie. You don't watch the beginning of Mother's Day. We love those kinds of movies, and those you don't get that in modern horror.
Interesting. Let me bring some. I watched the remake of Friday the 13th about 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks.
Okay.
It's boring.
It's unbelievable.
I think it's actually. If you said I could watch any Friday, it is in some ways a very good looking film. There's some good creepy shots. The camera work is good. I mean, it does not look like a cheap piece of junk, like let's say Seven or Jason Takes Manhattan, which kind of looks shitty. and cheap. I mean, it doesn't. It looks like they put some money into it. You know what I mean? And the acting is fine. I mean, everybody's attractive in a way that they never were attractive in the old ones. You know what I mean? Everybody looks like an actor in more ways that it's hard to explain. But the women are just so ridiculously good looking now in movies.
Well, yeah, everybody. None of the guys look like guys you'd play D&D with.
No, even the ones that are in the beginning, in the opening, who are supposed to be jerky. But I couldn't believe that the movie is just a fucking cover band of bits from the other movies. It has
it's a lounge version. It sucks. It sucks the joy out of anything in those movies and thinks it succeeds with the tunnel thing, because that explains why Jason could get to places all the time.
But it doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't explain it. It's just something. So I mean, putting Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 into just doesn't work. Watching him running around tunnels. I mean, you just start thinking. I got to start thinking about Jason making these tunnels and cooking food. I don't want to know this shit. None of it works.
That's you don't need to know when his shoes get bad.
Right. I mean,
where is chasing it? Does he hunt specifically for shoes? Maybe, when it's cold.
Not only that, but everybody knows what happened there, and he's got this underground drug cartel thing built there. I mean, there are people living in the neighborhood because everybody apparently smokes pot in this part of the woods. You kids are smoking pot. Children are smoking pot. If you go get a burger, the guy behind the counter is smoking. It was like they discovered weed. The filmmakers have weed, and we'll have 2 tokens instead. It was just fucking horrible. It was like the 2 things that they look, here's what we'll do. They won't be counselors. They'll be like college student adults. And not only does he wear the bag on his head, but we explain the hockey mask. I felt like after they did that, they didn't have to work hard. They went, oh my God, that's it. The bag and the hockey mask. We're brilliant.
Yeah.
And the movie is just a slog. An idiot slog.
Well, when you say, okay, we're going to do another Friday the 13th. Do we keep the lineage of somebody comes into what's his name's office and says something crazy and we go, yes, what hasn't been done? We did space. We did, we still haven't done snow.
Virtual reality. We haven't done virtual reality. Actually, I guess we did in the space.
In the space one a little.
Internet. Jason's on the internet.
So what they do, I mean, have you seen the Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
No.
I haven't been able to get through it. If people talk about it being one of the worst things, you can't remake them like that.
I actually didn't remember that they remade that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, also we're living in a time where New Nightmare is
just classic.
It's just he figured it out before anybody else did. And I don't get that. I found that movie. Remember that movie?
The memory I have of all of us going to see that movie was I felt like we were in an opium den because there was so many people sleeping on the chairs and moaning. I mean, not just us. The entire theater was like this. Oh. It was one of the dullest experiences I've ever had in the movies. All I remember is a lot of people going, this is going to be really interesting, and then just looking at each other. And there's a hand making somebody walk over a highway or something. It's a terrific idea. It is a terrific idea. I like the idea of, it goes even beyond that. There's a great meta idea there. It is one of the dullest films ever made.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me. I mean, if it works for you, God bless. But
there's this weird revisionism that I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't say. Honestly, I'm beginning to. I would usually agree that it's being revised, but I think now it's actually just a changing of the times. I think it's appreciated because so many movies are like that. That instead of taking, like, again, if you're going to do a sequel to one of these slashes in the 80s, you think, what hasn't been done before? And now you think, what was the cultural impact and mistakes and plot holes and toys that were made. So what can we do now with the franchise?
That was Wes Craven's whole fucking thing, though, was to just constantly eat his own tail. You know, I haven't seen Scream, but I mean, he just the meta, the knowing. I mean, he took that to a high level, and it's like, I have no interest in Wes Craven in Scream or anything. I don't know why. I've never had any interest in Scream, and I just found New Nightmare to just be a concept, a hollow concept without a movie. And I mean, I also haven't seen the. It's like I really like a lot of these. I mean, I like Halloween a lot, and I have no real desire to keep revisiting these films rebooted. I mean, that's just me, I guess. I would much rather somebody said, let's. I mean, haven't they rebooted Halloween like 3 times now? But they keep going, like they keep it's like DC or Marvel continuity. They keep going back to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, it's like when they if you review the series now, you have to have a graphic that tells you what timelines work. Okay, this timeline, it's the first and second movie, and then this. And then they forget these movies. So this movie is just the first movie, and you forget all the other ones. And this is this.
It's like one of those graphics of who was in Yes throughout the. I mean, I don't want to, you know, Hill's Bill Bruford, and I'm like, I just
say no to Yes.
Yeah, say maybe. And I'm like, it's just like, I'm confused. At least there you just put an album on. But didn't they kill Jamie Lee Curtis when they brought it back?
Yes. When they did H2O, she comes back.
Terrible.
And then there's the sequel to that.
Which is the one with the horror? Which is the one with the
That's the sequel. That's Resurrections.
Oh, that was terrible.
I think it's Resurrections. I don't even know these days. But
is that the one with LL Cool J?
No, the H2O is with LL Cool J.
Which is the one with the scariest thing is that somebody's on the floor and Michael Myers throws a couple of tables. You go, ooh, and that's like the scariest thing in the movie. He throws 2 tables at once.
Were they small? Could you describe those tables? I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
He's like, somebody's on the floor and they're going through a kitchen or something. And he's like, they're like cafeteria tables. Whoa. It's like it's like the kind of thing where you go, that's cool. Then you realize it's just him walking through the glass in the second one. That's just stupid.
Yeah, Halloween Resurrections is the one in the horror house that has Busta Rhymes and Tara Banks in it.
Oh, Busta Rhymes, okay.
And that's where he kung fu's the shape. I mean, I remember seeing that in the theater. Look, in a weird way, it's hard for me to talk about horror. I'm beginning to realize, because people like different types of horror. You know, people like what's the term they're using now, like high horror, or you know, just like, oh, this is Heredity and Midsummer and these right. Artsy, right. Craftsy things. I don't mind any of that stuff, but in reality, I would rather stuff just be fucking crazy. You know, I'm served better.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
You know, I'm served better when it turns out that, you know, Freddy versus Jason works for me a lot.
Yeah, I've been thinking about watching that one.
It is, you know, Ronnie Yu, there's some interesting things. It's crazy and stupid, and I enjoy it because it's so ludicrous. I don't know if I want a serious drama about someone, you know, having a family tragedy and they got to go to the woods and, you know, there's something in the lake, and I can't do it. I just can't.
There's just way too many architects and writers, you know.
Thank you.
Who are like, you know, yeah, somebody gets hit. There's a tragedy at the beginning so that you can get them.
I think you got it too. Two people get cookies for that. Thank you.
Ooh, cookies. I don't know. But you know, that whole, you get to see somebody killed or wiped out in some way. So you have tragedy. And then, we go to a location that's cheap to film.
Right.
And there's...
I mean, like I said, you would never watch it, but Malignant is fascinating.
I'll watch it eventually because, you know...
It's fascinating. And I don't think it's... I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
Even in its craziness, I think it needs to be watched because... How did they allow this to get made now? These movies do not get made anymore, you know.
What's the thing about the Friday the 13th remake was I was amazed at how absolutely unimaginative it was. I mean, which is amazing when you're talking about Friday the 13th, which is generally not the most imaginative series, because you're really not dealing with a lot of plot. For all the mythos going on in Jason's story, it's very campfire. It doesn't get crazy the way Phantasm does, or Nightmare on Elm Street. It does not have a very deep supernatural background, and it doesn't become a larger world like Halloween, where they go from here's a maniac coming after you, why is he invulnerable, to all of a sudden it gets ridiculous. But they start adding, I mean, except for the Jason film where where everybody's swallowing a brain and running around, things are going up Erin Gray's shoot. I mean, that movie actually goes off the rails with craziness, but at least it's crazy. Watching Friday the 13th unfurl, and it's literally just people going left and then going right and then getting killed and going left and going right. And
the thing is, I mean, think about it.
The ending is so fucking annoying. When
you remake films now or reboot franchises and they want these IPs, they want to make the video games and the toys and all the shit we always talk about. It's not like years ago where Tom Savini comes in and says, I thought of this crazy shit we could do.
Yeah.
Let's do this crazy shit. I think they're afraid of it. So many of these films borderline on PG-13.
Yeah.
Where and I think that's, I don't really need Jason to wander around the woods and be kind of spooky.
I don't want to see his house. I don't want to see Jason's house. There was nothing. First of all, there was nothing interesting there. I mean, it just looked like every single backwoods crazy person. I've got shit hanging from the walls. There's rakes. There's bear traps. There's shit. There's mud. I mean, also, when did he make this?
He made it since he was a little boy. That was in the Lakers. I think it's just
and I love the funny. Oh, hold on one second. The more you make, the more that you make out of that you art direct like that, and then you realize people like it was like that terrible movie Madman from like 1980, the one where you say his name, he'll show up.
Oh yeah.
There's a crime scene. Just because things are in the backwoods doesn't mean nobody looks. That the police don't go over. I mean, Jason's house is still there, and he's got the trophies of his kills from the.
But here's the thing:
whistles of all the. So if your stupid characters can find all of Jason's secrets, why can't the authorities?
Right, but here's the thing:
for a famous murder case, which also they don't know about, which is ridiculous to me. But there are films in the internet age, and they don't know who he is, and they have to all tell each other. And also, why don't they have cell phones in that movie?
But that's the problem. Why is it that movie? There are other movies you will watch. We talked about City of Lost Children, a crazy, a wonderful film, totally crazy world, and you snap, you're in. No one's going, well, how did he make money for that, or where would that come from? What is it about this Friday the 13th from 2009 that are you just getting bored and you're going, wait, there should be cell phones, or there should be this.
Yes.
But what is it in the other films that make you just kind of go, fuck it, Yeah,
I mean, as Jason Takes Manhattan is a fucking horrible movie. Okay, but I don't sit there going, why doesn't Jason steer the boat himself or whatever? I mean, I didn't give a shit. Do you know what I'm saying?
How did he learn to sail a boat, Evan? Right. When did he learn to sail a boat?
How did they get from the lake to the ocean? How did Camp Crystal Lake? How did they get from there to New York?
Right.
Was this like the Chugga-Bear? Is this like some fucking wacky races?
Right, but
razor blade wheels came out of the thing. I mean, it doesn't matter. But in this movie, they take great care to show you how things work, and they set things up. And then you still have to sit there and go, how come nobody hears anybody getting killed 30 feet away? And it's just like off. And that ending is amazing, because when they basically off him and then decide that they have to drag his huge Hulk body to the lake as if they're going to get caught by the police or something. Why are they putting him in the water other than the fact that as a Friday the 13th film fan, you know that the lake is important?
Well, here's an interesting thing. Brian and I were talking, we were texting back and forth, our mutual friend, Brian David Marshall. And we were talking about Giallo, right? And we were talking about the movie Color of Night. The really insanely terrible thriller from 1984 with Bruce Willis.
And Jeff Fahey.
And the thing is, we were talking. He goes, "Well, is that Giallo?" And I said, "I think you could call that.
You could call that American."
And there you get into it. He goes, "Wow, it almost recontextualizes the movie for me, because why would they have done these fucking crazy choices if they weren't somehow in this genre that does crazy stuff?" So, is that it?
I don't know about that, because I think that the Color of Night doesn't drag you into. I mean, unless they say. Color of Night would have to actually say, "Look, have you ever heard of Giallo? That's what we're doing," because that's not how it comes across. It just comes across as bad erotic thriller.
Right, but there's that. There is a connective tissue when you think of. I mean, it's a.
You told me that they were watching Giallo when they wrote this. I believe you, but
no, but I think they're probably watching Brian De Palma.
Right. Yeah.
When they make Color of Night, I think they're watching Body Double and Dress to Kill and shit like that.
Yeah.
But isn't that Giallo?
I would say Dress to Kill. I haven't seen Body Double. I would say Dress to Kill kind of feels like it, know. But the thing is, Brian De Palma is a weird case because everything he does feels like something
else. Because it is.
Well, Giallo took a lot from Hitchcock. And so did he.
Right.
So it makes sense that you're going to cross paths.
Right.
But Dress to Kill is kind of... I remember liking it when I saw it in theaters because I thought it was very scary. But I've kind of... My thinking about it since has been that it's kind of joyless in a weird way. It follows so much... It spends a lot of time with parts of it that aren't as interesting. I would have liked to have seen Keith Gordon and Nancy Allen's characters given a little more time. It's almost like I found them interesting. I thought they were a good pairing, in some ways a good Giallo pairing, if you want to think of it that way, or Hitchcock pairing. But he doesn't know what to do with them because I don't think that De Palma really connects to human beings very well, and in some ways he lets them down. Once the movie becomes more mundane towards the end, the second half, when all the tricks are kind of gone, except for his dream sequence shit,
right,
asylum and whatever. But he gets a lot of his jollies out in the first 45 minutes, and then it just kind of not much goes on. He doesn't really sustain that movie. But I would say, yeah, Dress to Kill seems a lot like a Giallo, though.
Right.
Certainly the murderer. I mean, the use of elevators, the use of deception, of psychosexual murder. Sure. I mean, he had to have seen some of the Italian stuff. I mean, he's a sponge.
Right. You watch Body Double, and you go, okay, so this is what he's doing. Rear Window. Dress to Kill is a lot of vertigo in Dress to Kill. I don't know.
Some Psycho and some.
Oh yeah, because that's he is someone that kind of just shuffles the deck. Although I must say that I do love Phantom of the Paradise. As I get older,
it doesn't feel like a Hitchcock movie.
No, it doesn't feel like a Brian De Palma movie.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I like Sisters. I like Sisters. I love Carrie. I think Carrie's terrific. I think Carrie's in some ways one of his most human films.
Yeah, I don't know. Carrie I never loved Carrie for some reason.
I like Carrie a lot. I think Carrie is weirdly overlooked in some ways. I don't know how I can't back that up. But
you feel like it should be more influential or more talked about as being influential? Yeah.
Yes, I think that there's a lot of things that are done in Carrie that are terrific. And I don't want to jump overboard and say maybe it's because of its the lead character being a woman and being a kind of reactive woman, and that but I mean, it's a revenge film. It's a very scary movie. It's a very depressing movie. I mean, the book's depressing too, but I think that it's got some fantastic acting in it and some really interesting choices. And for some reason it doesn't, I mean, I think it's clearly a classic and it's clearly influential because Ginger Snaps, a whole lot of movies emulate the end of Carrie. Especially, and there were so many psychic movies, I mean, The Fury I haven't seen, but there were so many movies with somebody, psychokinesis and telekinesis and possession type powers was huge. I mean, that and The Exorcist, had a real stranglehold. But I think for some reason, Carrie just seems to have, I just don't feel like it gets discussed as much, or, that it's kind of been dropped. And I'm not sure why. I feel like Carrie is not as exciting a action figure as Jason, Jack Torrance, Ghostface, and all these other characters.
I don't think Stephen King is as cool with the kids today as he once was.
I guess not, but I feel like of all of the adaptations, in some ways, I think Carrie and The Shining exist outside of King. I'd also say Misery and The Shawshank Redemption are sort of movies that have carved their own niche where you go, oh, that's right, that's Stephen King. I mean, I might not, that's a personal thing, but I mean,
I see what you mean.
But I mean, a lot of movies are like, here's a Stephen King movie, here's Stephen King's Children of the Corn, and it doesn't feel like Stephen King's Carrie or Stephen King's The Shining. But I can't even, I mean, for all I know, Carrie's getting books written about it right now these days. But I feel like that it's a closed door. Like The Shining is a weird situation because of Kubrick. You know what I mean? Sure. Almost anything Kubrick does is going to get picked apart by certain people. I mean, whether it's Barry Lyndon or Killer, it has a lot to do with Kubrick more than King.
Right, and Kubrick also exists that he's a director that modern reviewers or thinkers can overly analyze his work forever and constantly be fucking talking about it. It's almost become
like that's what you're supposed to do with Kubrick. You have to engage with it on this higher level. And Carrie is kind of like they did sequels and remakes, but it's sort of like it's hermetic, It's kind of, to me, it feels kind of hermetic, it's like trying to remake Frankenstein, but you're trying to do the Boris Karloff makeup. I mean, Sissy Spacek as Carrie in that film with those actors, that insanely good group of actors, Amy Irving and PJ Soles, Nancy Allen, Travolta's in there a little bit. I'm trying to remember the woman who Piper Laurie. It's funny because Piper Laurie thought the whole thing was a joke. She thought it was a really stupid movie and that she went over the top because she just thought it was ridiculous and everything. But I mean, I always found her terrifying. I can see it being played for black. But I mean, there's a lot of interesting techniques from Sisters in there, the screen splitting. The end is really, really, I think it does an amazing job of you still like Carrie and you feel badly for her, even though she pulls one of the nastiest mass murders in movie history.
Okay, sure.
That ending, even though all her bullies and everything, but she also wipes out all these innocent kids. She wipes out the teacher, who I always thought it was a weird bit that she laughs at Carrie at the end. I always thought that was a little forced, almost as if to justify her, Barbara, I forget her death. But there was just seeing it as a kid was terrifying to me because it is just the way that the music kicks in, that weird electric buzz when she starts locking the doors and everything. The idea that these people will never get out of this, that this is it's almost like a gas chamber. And the way that he flips the horror around and shows the people dying all at the same time in different ways has never really been done effectively like that in another movie. And this woman, this poor girl covered in blood, and she also kills off William Cat, who had no idea that this shit was happening. And he, it's a tragic, awful, scary, creepy, sad movie, which also has a lot of laughs in it. You really feel bad for all these schmucks, even though they're bullies. They're very believable bullies. You know what I mean? They're not dunking Carrie in the toilet like Slaughter High or anything. They're not throwing acid on her or any of these crazy. They're not doing the Giallo thing of getting her raped and killed by a teacher. I mean, I really think Carrie's a super effective movie, and I'm just surprised that it seems to be pushed under a little bit or forgotten. I mean, for all I know, maybe people don't like it anymore. I mean, maybe modern audiences don't relate to it. I have no idea, what its status is right now. But it's not something that comes up a lot. It's not.
No.
You don't see memes, the way. I mean, The Shining. You don't see people making action figures from Carrie. You don't see people. The way that a lot of other films, you seem to run into the memes of Jack Torrance still to this day, and you run into Ghostface online, and you run into Michael Myers, people dressing up as Michael Myers and doing dances and stuff around Halloween and showing what it's like to be bored Michael Myers. See, that's the thing with the Friday the 13th, seeing him walking around in his house, all it does is make you go, well, what does he eat? Does he have cereal boxes? Does he have a lot of cereal somewhere? Does he want? And it's like, I don't want to. It's just like it would be like seeing Michael Myers, insert shots of Michael Myers in the driving, and he's playing with the radio, and he's like, I don't like that. I don't. And then, fuck you. You know what I mean? It's like him getting annoyed at drivers.
Right. The tape gets eaten up while he's driving, and he's got to pull it out.
Swerves a little bit. He's got his drink. He's got He's
listening to REO Speedwagon.
Right. He's relaxed. He scares the Arby's person. What? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to know the minutia in these campfire tale. You go watch Mother's Day if you want to see how sickos live.
Yeah.
Exactly. Go watch Henry There's a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer 2 I just stumbled on.
The Squeakquel, I believe it's called. Yeah.
Are you what?
No, it's not called.
I mean, what the fuck do you do with the number 2 of that? I mean, you can't tell anybody no, but I just wish people could tell themselves no. I just wish that sometimes you just like I just don't make that 18th John Wayne Gacy clown movie. Portrait of a Clown, whatever the fuck. All clown movies suck, except Killer Clowns.
All clown movies?
I do not like I can't watch any of the ones that are on Tubi. The 10 years of 10 years of slobs. Who's the sloppiest person we know in our social circles will put clown makeup on? Like, people are always telling me to watch Terrifier, and one day I will. But it's just another Captain Howdy looking asshole. I can't, it's like I'm bored with my version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I guess my version of Pennywise, because I don't know where the fucking clown shit comes from. Or is it from a couple of years back when people were dressing up as creepy clowns, and everybody realized, you know what, clowns really do suck, and it's a cheap effect.
And the thing is, you could do a clown, but clowns could be different. You can't, you know what I mean? You could just go, oh, it's a clown, but it looks different in this movie as opposed to that one. To me, it's just, I don't know.
The clown coming after you is just like it's just like, I don't know, but it really is. It's amazing how many you go down Tubi and clown, more clown, 3 clowns, 2 clowns, 1 clown. Do a girl clown, do a little person clown, do something. Do 100 clowns. That would be scary, maybe. I don't know. 100. The whole fucking circus comes out.
Jesus.
But
City of 100 clowns.
But they have no fucking. They have no real. I mean, what is the motivation for these clowns?
They love to kill Evan.
Oh, and how come nobody? Hi, yeah, police, yeah. There's a clown. Oh shit! All right, what does he look like? He looks like a clown. Come pick him up. It's the clown. How do you hide places looking like a clown? Shit. I'm mad now.
Are you mad? You mad at the clowns? Oh, I wish there could be a clown that would appear behind you, and this would be the best Shudder movie ever.
Oh, so
Shudder
clowns
original.
is close. Clowns is close to the word clones, and you tried to watch this movie Clones. I believe.
Holy shit.
I was going to watch it just to make myself watch it and say I watched Clones, but I didn't. I got confused by the Bigfoot movie.
Yeah, Clones was I have this problem where I'm confusing a lot of movies, so I've been seeing Clones on Tubi and shit and thinking, "Oh, I've seen this."
You think it's parts the Clonus horror
or some other fucking
which
shit
I've
that
still
I've
never seen.
That I have watched.
Yeah.
So
it's Canadian. I think it's not supposed to be very good.
Clones is definitely, I think, is Canadian. Whatever. So it's just
clown clones. The same clown keeps coming. We do clown clones. We could probably get backing for it in Canada if we use 60% Canadian clown clones. Claws of the clown clones. How's that?
It sounds like you're having a stroke.
Claws of the Clown Clone Clan. 38th chamber of the clown. I can't remember what I said. Now I'm done. But yeah, I think there's a terrible movie in there.
Oh yes. I think we just described it.
I think there's 7 terrible movies. So Clones was bad news. Couldn't get through it.
It was one of those movies where too much time is spent with people like running and walking and looking and showing, and nothing fucking happens.
Getting into cars, getting out of cars, opening doors.
It's got an interesting premise. There's an accident in this facility, and a scientist has to get out to survive. And while he's escaping, some guy gets into his car and drives away. And the security guard says, "No, that was you." And then the guy goes to his house with his wife, and it's like, "What are you talking?" And meets himself there, and it's like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then decides to do things that make no sense at a droning pace that I couldn't even fucking stand.
I got you. So they should have called it Drones instead of Clones.
Yes.
Downy Clowny.
Maybe Moans.
Droney Cloney.
Could it be Moans?
That's a different movie. I think that I think you rented that movie in the parking lot with your friend Jim or whatever is that with Dirty Jim, Gary Smith, Gritty Dave, Grody Roger,
Sandy Tim. Oh, Tim's so
Sandy. Oh, so I'm trying. Okay, so here's a movie that I think that we've watched. I just want to 2 movies have nothing to do with each other, but I watched Kung Fu from Beyond the Grave.
Oh, I love it. I've watched that many times.
Did we watch that? We must have watched that
because of the parade scene, Evan. Of course, we watched it.
The movie's hilarious. I thought that movie was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
So it's a good Kung Fu movie, and it's a funny, dumb, wonderful. Have you ever seen? We watched Oregon back in the day, didn't we? The Japanese film Oregon.
Maybe.
I found it on. I found a bunch of I guess VCDs.
Right, because back in the day, just to clarify, I'm sorry.
And I'm watching a bunch of them, and I couldn't remember Oregon, but I'm watching it. And I'm going, I really think we saw this. It's really super low budget, like Wild Zero and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's a cop, and there's a mad scientist, and it's just gross in a lot of places, and it's weird, and it's interesting, but not very good. But I think we watched it over your place.
Well, remember, there was a time when Friday nights were Kung Fu movies,
right?
And Saturday nights were Korean films, and Sunday nights were Japanese films.
Yeah. And we were watching things like Oregon, and in fact, I think I rewatched something that I also didn't remember seeing, Shikoku, which I think we saw, and we had the same reaction that I had watching it. Really good premise, does not really come together.
Which one is that?
Shikoku is it's an island, and a guy comes back to this island and finds out that this girl he liked is dead,
Oh man.
Townspeople don't want him there. But the high concept was the mother has been doing a ritual on the island of visiting all 18 temples or something like that in order once a year. And it turns out she's been doing it backwards as part of a ritual to bring the daughter back. But the movie's just flat. It's not terrible, but it's kind of flat.
Yeah.
But
what was the Junji Ito Scarecrow movie?
That's the thing. I always forget. I forget the Kakashi?
Something like that. That was the movie that Girardi was over for and decided that all Japanese horror was terrible.
I did not like Kakashi. It was boring. It had one scene that was interesting, but it just didn't make sense. It just wasn't interesting. I mean, I don't know to this day if there's a recognized excellent Junji Ito adaptation, because
no, I don't think so.
A lot of people like Spiral.
Hey, Evan, I will be right back. Talk to the audience.
Oh, okay. Hello, audience. How are you all? I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Actually, no, I'm not that fine, but whatever. Hopefully I'm not bleeding too bad. I shaved today for the first time in like a week. What have I been doing? A lot of errands and a lot of stuff around the house. Haven't been drawing a lot. I started drawing again, trying to get everybody's Winky drawings done. Winky is falling asleep right now over there. That doesn't help anyone. But on the what is that called? It's a piece of furniture. God, my fucking brain. January's been pretty terrible. I hope your January was not terrible. I hope your New Year's was nice. I hope your holidays were nice. Mine weren't so hot. I spent most of them by myself, watching a lot of dumb movies, playing with Winky. We're getting ready for Sarah's surgery. Nothing. Just been watching movies and flummoxed by technology.
Don't let the technology flummox you, Evan.
It's been bad. I don't know how to do anything, and everything's been halted. Since Sarah's not able to work and everything. It's like I t-shirt designs, can't do them. The program that I have for Photoshop stuff to print, I don't understand it. I think I'm gonna have to just pay for Photoshop at this point, because I'm a moron. I don't understand this stuff, but at least I understood certain things. Trying to educate myself using the GIMP program just is not working for me. It's a little too foreign. Okay. I need to be doing the most simple thing on earth. And I'm feeling really frustrated by that, because, I'm just not good at doing things like that.
What? Stevie? That's a line from Shakes the Clown.
I thought you were going to say that's a line from Shakespeare.
Oh, no.
Like, what the hell's wrong with her? Is she gone out, Holy moly. Holy moly. There are more fuck dogs on heaven and earth.
Terrible.
Yeah, I don't know what I've never seen Shakes the Clown.
Shakes the Clown, I really like.
Now that I've seen Willow Creek, I'm never going to trust Bobcat Goldthwait on anything again.
Oh, well, yes, I've wanted to watch that movie, but I can't.
Willow Creek. If Willow Creek was made in 1986, you'd go, that wasn't very good. But I knew what they were going for. And being made now, just a few years ago, I'm like, what the fuck was going through his head? Here's a clever, interesting, funny, smart guy, and he basically makes a Bigfoot Blair Witch movie badly many years after Blair Witch came out. Like, it seems the basis of the film is that there's like a 12-minute or 13-minute single shot of two people going, what was that, in the tent. It's just absolutely terrible. I mean, I was waiting for something to happen to justify the movie's existence, because I think he's a funny, intelligent guy.
I think he's made a bunch of movies I really like. I'm trying to look him up now.
Unfortunately, going to Willow Creek for the first one. Well, here's the thing. Here's one of the things that I figured we'd end up talking about. I realized that I am absolutely one of the first things we said when we did episode 1 of our podcast was we joked about Bigfoot. podcasts and Bigfoot stuff.
Right, right. Well,
And here I am realizing that I am a absolute sucker for Bigfoot movies.
Oh, yeah.
And that I realize you are, and I'm like, we got to address this at some point because I keep watching these terrible Bigfoot / Sasquatch / Yeti films. So now back to Bigfoot, the first American film with a Bigfoot in it. It's possibly the first Bigfoot film from what I gather, because it's not an abominable snowman or Yeti, because they made a couple. Hammer made the abominable snowman. There's that weird
Italian.
There's that weird movie that it's American or English, which is about like the snow creature. I think it actually might be called The Snow Creature, which is a hilariously bad movie, which possibly reuses the same shot of a monster more times than any movie in history. This Yeti gets into the sewer system somewhere, and they just keep showing it going like this. I almost cried from how bad that movie was. But the other movies that were made apparently before Bigfoot were either Yeti or Sasquatch movies.
Right. Well, I mean, how do you distinguish Bigfoot from Sasquatch?
That they don't use the phrase Bigfoot.
Oh, so it has to have. Okay, I got you.
There's that terrible Snow Devils movie where
have you seen Capture of Bigfoot?
Yes.
The Capture. Oh, that's wonderful. That movie.
Well, here's the thing. Capture. I think. All right. Where's my notes? I don't really. Capture of Bigfoot is Bill Rebane.
Okay. Right. I was going to rewatch that the other day, and I realized I wasn't quite.
My problem is that I can't remember Capture of Bigfoot, except I sort of can't. Well, okay. The Capture of Bigfoot, I go, okay, that has Buck Flower in it. Bill Rebane liked Buck Flower. Buck Flower ends up in a lot of Bill Rebane stuff. And Bill Rebane is somebody, well, real quick, Bigfoot, the first Bigfoot has, is 1970 and is absolutely terrible. It's an exploitation movie that doesn't even have exploitation in it. There's no cursing, there's no sex, there's no nudity. It's which wouldn't have helped it. It's got some of the worst Bigfoot suits you've ever seen. They all look like Chaka from there's a baby Bigfoot. Well, the funniest thing about Bigfoot might be the credits, because the credits tells you everybody who's in the movie. So it's one of those movies where you're watching, even as a kid, I hated this because I know I'm watching a movie called Bigfoot. So there will be a Bigfoot in it. But this is one of the ones that goes starring so-and-so and so-and-so, featuring blah, 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 also with blah, 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 co-starring blah, 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 and it's as Bigfoot and as baby Bigfoot, female Bigfoot, and evil Bigfoot. And I'm like, wait a second, you just blew a major plot point that this thing is full of Bigfoots. And you're telling me the alignment of one of these Bigfoots, which means, ergo, if there's an evil Bigfoot, that there are morally gray Bigfoots.
Well, could you tell the evil Bigfoot from the good Bigfoot? Like, did you recognize the actor? And, oh shit, he's the fucking evil one.
Well, no, because they're all wrapped in carpets and shit in these gorilla suits, and they're all going. I mean, the suits are fucking horrible. But this is one of those movies where everything, it's just so formula and so bad. It's got Joy Lansing, who's in a lot of bad movies. John Carradine, who's in every bad movie. It's got old actors. It's got Doodles Weaver in it. They felt the need to put Doodles Weaver in a scene.
Man's got to eat.
There's about 20 characters in this movie, and none of them get to do much of anything. Now, if you were told, here's a movie called Bigfoot, it is about two traveling salesmen who are trying to capture Bigfoot for gain.
Go on.
A woman pilot who crash lands in the forest and is captured by Bigfoot.
Amelia Earhart, gotcha.
And a biker gang.
Oh.
Members of whom get attacked by Bigfoot so that they have to rescue members of the gang. You'd go, that's a lot of moving parts. You've got monsters, biker gang, female pilot, the authorities, Native Americans get involved with this, and the two traveling salesmen. You go, holy shit, that sounds like it's a clusterfuck of something. It is one of the dullest worse thing. And there's a 9-foot Bigfoot. There's a 3-foot Bigfoot. I mean, this thing on paper it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the bicycle thieves of Bigfoot movies. It's just got everything. Pathos, orthos, vomitos.
It's not the bicycle thief of Bigfoot.
No, but I change it. Bicycle thieves.
Oh, well, that's the modern, yes.
Yes. Bicycle Thieves is the one that takes place in Greece. Well, anyway, don't watch Bigfoot. It sucks. It sucks hairy balls. It's so hairy balls bad that it's hairy balls. I hated it.
Yeah.
You know what I did? I folded laundry and I considered turning it off. And when I consider turning a movie off, that means it's a terrible movie.
I'm still hearing about the fucking Mangler from you. Christ's sake.
Well, one of these days I'm going to finish the Mangler. I feel like I've only gotten to the Mang part, and eventually I'll get the lure done. Like, you know, it's like, you know, and The Price is Right, when the price is rising and you got to hit the.
What do you think of? Have you seen Demon Warp?
What?
The Demon Warp, the George Kennedy.
Demon Warp, which is like Demon Warp is a Bigfoot running around, and then there's aliens.
Well, spoilers, Evan, for Christ's sakes.
Fuck that shit. If you're listening to this, then you get.
I just heard Stevie laughing from upstairs. I did.
Fuck that dog. Give it to it. That Bigfoot dog.
Jesus. Oh, man.
Seriously,
So,
there's also a dog, I think, in the Bigfoot. But the biker gang, here's the thing. The biker gang is not mean. They're not a biker gang. They're a bunch of kids on bikes. One of them's named Dum Dum. They're practically like fucking... I'm mad at that movie. But Capture a Bigfoot is more like it. Is Capture a Bigfoot a good movie?
I remember it being a good bad movie. I honestly think the best bad Bigfoot movie I could think of is Demon Warp.
Demon Wind is Demon Warp.
I'm looking at it as Demon Warp. Is it Demon Wind too?
No, Demon Wind is the one with the people who keep walking into empty buildings, and then there's.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Actually, people hate that movie. I think it's a terrible movie.
Oh, it's awful.
It's a ride. I mean, it's a journey. Like that would make a good double bill with Demon Warp, Demon Wind, and Demon Warp, because they are both unpredictable.
Right. Well, we should say that we've been obsessed with. Well, I've been obsessed with Bigfoot since I was a kid. Absolutely obsessed with Bigfoot.
I'm a big,
we were big cryptozoology people. Don't believe any of this stuff.
No, I don't. I wish I did.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was, but we don't.
Even the stuff I can't pronounce, I wish was real. The African dinosaur.
Right.
I mean, I love all that stuff.
Great stuff. And
I got a copy of that Darren Naish book, the Hunting Monsters.
Right, I read that. I thought that was really good.
I mean, I love it all, but I mean, it's just, and it all would make good movies, and it's amazing how bad they are.
Right. Well, the thing is, those I absolutely am obsessed. In
Search of and all that.
Or the Mysterious Monsters, the Peter Graves.
Sure.
Those hour and a half documentaries.
What's interesting about the Bigfoot movie is it acknowledges the I can never remember the name of the film. Mokele Mbembe. Thank you. There's little finger puppets of all those made in Japan. I really wanted them. I don't know if Marmot made them, but they acknowledge the Patterson film in this movie. They refer to, it's only a few years old. It's only a couple of years, so it's interesting that they kind of try to recreate that in a couple of shots, but it's such an inept, terrible movie. I mean, the movie is mostly people on motorcycles driving through the woods, driving on roads, and then terrible bits of business on a set that's supposed to be outdoors where the girls in bikinis have been tied up by the Bigfoots. Yeah. And then a country store set and a sheriff set. And it's interesting because it is an early Bigfoot movie.
Wow. Mountain Monsters I was obsessed with Mountain Monsters for a while.
I don't know these. I'll have to look them up. Wow.
Oh my God.
When are these from?
I'm
Just
not exactly sure.
early reality stuff, or
No. I feel like, maybe like 10 years old, like within the last decade or something.
no, I don't know that one. I mean, these are all movies that are like they're ready made. All you got to do is do the research and go, look, here I found 5 really cool folklore stories and supposed eyewitness stories. String those together with a plot. Get a screenwriter, but everyone just makes the same fucking thing. Somebody gets attacked by Bigfoot in the first 5 minutes. Somebody comes out there to get that Bigfoot. And
I'm going to get you, Bigfoot.
Yeah, and it's just like, and here's the people who drink in the local bar in the shitty town that we got permits to film in. Here's the guys with their rifles going out to get bit. There's no style, or there's no, like, I mean, it's like bad if Snow Beast is better than your, a TV movie like Snow Beast is actually more engaging, and it's not good either. But it's like, is there a good Bigfoot film?
No, I don't think there is. I mean,
not one where I go, wow, that was exciting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, I mean, as a kid, the ads for Boggy Creek terrified the shit out of me.
Same here.
The newspaper ads scared me for Boggy Creek. And then you see it, and it's kind of, ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
But the thing is, the story of, basically going in the woods and, thinking a bear was a Bigfoot, maybe doesn't translate to movies that well.
No, but I mean, the thing is, going out into the woods and there's a creature out there.
No, I know what you mean, but
there's no alien or there is no alien or the thing of Bigfoot movies.
Obviously, someone could do it. I'm not saying it can't be done. Obviously, someone just. But yeah, I don't think it's ever been handled in a way.
Nobody's even tried to make a stylistically interesting one, from as far as I've seen. Nobody's tried to make a Dust Devil take or Jesus, I don't know. I mean, nobody's even tried to make as much as we've talked about not liking it, but I mean, maybe try to make it like Pumpkinhead. Just a sense of it being more, not trotting out the same tropes and doing something more, linking it to the land, linking it to.
So maybe a folk horror where it's
right, rather than just basically grizzly with a gorilla suit.
Right, and not because you usually get the Wendigo. Your folk horror monster in the woods is usually the Wendigo, so you don't get it just being Bigfoot.
And they don't do that. I mean, the Wendigo is such a weird thing because the Wendigo is like basically 3 different monsters.
You know what probably the best Bigfoot movie is? Harry and the Hendersons.
Which I haven't seen, but I bet you're right.
Yeah, it's kind of adorable in spots, and
I mean, it's the best looking. It's the only Bigfoot they could show. Like, I know what Harry and the Henderson look. I know what Harry looks like. Right. And he looks like a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
The rest of them all look like a gorilla suit with the one in Demon Warp is somebody tried, but it really looks like they had to quit before they finished it. The Demon Warp one is hilarious looking. It's just melty face, hairy. I mean, it's a hard thing to pull off. I'm almost surprised somebody hasn't tried to do this. I mean, has somebody done a CGI Bigfoot film? Or is that just too much of a budget?
No, I actually think I saw like Aliens versus Bigfoot. There was a trailer for Aliens versus Bigfoot, and it's a CGI Bigfoot. I believe this, or unless this is some.
It makes sense if you do a CGI Bigfoot, only because you can at least then be creative and interesting and do things that you can't do with an actor. As much as I would prefer a monster in a suit, hairy suits are hard to pull off. They all look like shit. Unless you're going to hire Rick Baker or Stan Winston and put real money into it. I mean, the Harry and the Hendersons suit is pretty terrific.
Yeah.
From what Jesus. He doesn't even look like a Bigfoot. He looks like one of those walking tree monsters from some Filipino film. First of all, how's Bigfoot going to go handle himself against all those flying saucers?
It's the trailer is amazing. You should.
It looks like a Don Dohler film, doesn't it? because he
yeah,
really,
but I don't think it'll have the charm.
oh no, I'm finding Don Dohler incredibly more charming the more
all the time, right?
as Don Dohler is just. I love that he puts his. I love that the same people show up in his movies.
Right.
I love that one guy. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That one guy, his star, who's never the star except for that blood movie, the crazy blood movie,
Which he's pretty good in.
He's creepy in that one. It's that movie's hilarious.
Yeah.
That movie's hilarious. I mean, again, nobody.
Ooh, that's true.
That's actually a pretty good Bigfoot. Yes.
Yeah.
The $6 million man Bigfoot suit is pretty damn good.
Bigfoot and Wild Boy could go fuck himself, but I think the $6 million man Bigfoot is pretty good.
I don't remember the Bigfoot and Wild Boy suit being terrible as a kid, but I didn't want to watch that show.
I didn't like the show. I felt the show didn't live up to my expectations.
I wanted Run Joe Run to join the cast, and then if it was Bigfoot and Wild Boy and Joe.
Right. What about Isis? What if she showed up?
No, I mean, I found Isis very attractive, but I didn't want to watch her show.
Really?
I also didn't watch Shazam, the Shazam show.
Oh,
I did not like most live action Saturday morning shows. I liked Electro Woman and Dynagirl and all those Dr. Shrinker because they were very pulpy.
Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, big fan of Sigmund.
No, I watched all the why am I blanking on who made those?
Sid and Marty Krofft.
I watched all the Croft stuff because it was cartoonish and ridiculous.
Right.
But Shazam and most of those shows were like, I wanted the Batman show, and they didn't have fights. They were boring.
Yeah.
There were a lot of talking, and they didn't really use the superhero stuff because they didn't have the money. Electro Woman and Dynagirl was more like the Batman show for me.
Right. Sure.
It was colorful. It was pulpy. People were acting two-dimensional. I did like Jason as Star Command because I was desperate for anything that was like Star Wars and Buck Rogers.
What was it? The Ark show. What was Ark 1?
Did not like Ark 2.
Ark 2. Oh, I see. I preferred Ark 1.
I didn't. Ark 2 was boring because all it was they had this great Ark 2 shit car.
Right.
I wanted to drive that car and live in that car and be in that car, but I didn't want to watch them parking the car and getting out of it and having boring non-adventures.
Yeah.
Land of the Lost. I love Land of the Lost because that was creative and cartoony and nuts, but I didn't like the stuff where it was basically like, ISIS is walking somewhere.
Lidsville
scared me.
Yeah.
When it first came on, it actually terrified me that this kid went to this crazy world through for some reason. Lidsville really upset me. I mean, it was my favorite of the shows because it was nuts, and I like Charles Nelson Riley more than Witchy Poo.
Yeah, we were watching some. Stevie and I were watching some Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and the TV show.
I like that show. It's a little boring, but
yeah.
Don't you like when Charles Nelson Riley's driving his car? And he's got to drive his car.
He was having so much fun.
It's an urbane show,
Yeah.
It's a very urbane show. They have a Scotty dog. It's cute.
Yeah.
It's a little dull, right?
It's very dull. It's terrible.
But it's amiable because everybody in it is kind of nice, and it seems like it would be a nice life to live. Like most sitcom lives are not interesting to me, but I wouldn't mind living in that town with those people.
Yeah, that was that time when, Channel 11 and Channel 9, you were watching that and, Nanny and the Professor. I was going
to ask you that. Is Nanny and the Professor a good show? Because I remember
I loved it. I loved it.
But I was in love with her.
I think that was it. I think that was probably the reason because it turns out it's not prestige.
I can't remember anything else about Nanny and the Professor other than I think in hindsight I read that Richard Long plays the professor. And Richard Long is an actor that basically looks like he was created, not born. One of those actors just you can't picture him ever having a regular job or being No, do you know what I mean? He's just perfect Ken doll type of.
Right. If somebody got hurt on Lost in Space, you could just fill him in there.
Yes.
Hi, kitty. Oh,
yes, he's very Guy Madison. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. She loved my glasses. Baby, why do you want to play with my glasses? Hi, baby. But yeah, he's one of those kind of like creepily good-looking, like if Mike Brady didn't get weird hair and scare the shit out of you type of stuff. But yeah, I remember thinking that That's why I'm very freaked out by that Exorcist movie that she's in. And then she married somebody much younger than herself, not Maxwell Caulfield. I don't know why I know that, but I remember thinking she was absolutely stunning as a kid, and she's like an early crush from watching syndicated television.
Yeah,
along with Judy from Lost in Space and Batgirl and Catwoman and 7,000 other people.
Maya from Space 1999.
I liked her quite a bit. Yes,
I watched. I watched a lot.
I saw you've been watching some.
Every couple of years, it fucking happens. It drives me out of my mind.
Well, was that you posted an episode that looked absolutely.
It was terrible.
It really looked like a Doctor Who episode fell into like a wall collapse and a Doctor Who character.
Well, it's like it was a Doctor Who episode, but when they were making the sets, they found 20 extra pounds, so they put it in there. Was that a second season or first? Yes, second season.
Because second season,
I prefer.
Really?
Yes, much prefer.
First season is terrible. First season as a kid upset me a lot. It was scary. They would kill people. They would charbroil corpses. Monsters would be spitting out dead bodies.
They don't know how to lock anybody the fuck up. Someone goes crazy and it's clearly going to cause damage.
Right. And they get Cameron Mitchell face. They get Cameron Mitchell face from some space flare or something like that.
And they can't fuck it. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to fuck you all up.
Yeah.
Put them in the brig.
No, all they know how to do is put the camera under them.
Yeah.
While they're hanging off those
unbelievable
corners of those camera things. Oh. And then they sweat. Anybody who sweats a lot on the moon needs to be put away because they start sweating and they start doing close-ups of them.
I was watching Martin Landau today cry.
How's he doing?
He's dead.
Oh.
And he's crying because he's dreaming about other astronauts that died because of a contagion that he had to leave them. And I'm like, this guy, he's been in fucking great movies. He's a terrific actor. But he's in a lot of junk. Holy shit.
When he doesn't care, he doesn't care. I mean, he's in Without Warning.
Oh, yeah. And he's amazing in Without Warning.
No, Alone in the Dark he's good in.
No, I think he's amazing. The things fly. He's hilarious. He's not good in it. You know, Alone in the Dark is something I was actually talking to Brian about.
I need to rewatch that.
Yeah. I remember loving that when we saw that.
I found that really creepy film. And creepy, even though you recognize like half the cast. I usually don't like a movie like that when a lot of the actors are I mean, it's him and his Without Warning buddy. What's his face? Push-up guy. Jack Palance.
Yeah.
And then you got the Running Man Viking guy who's also in the Ford and Baldies and in Stir Crazy, Eric Vander, I can't remember. And then you got Murdoch, right? Is it Murdoch? Yeah. And somebody else is in there as a known quantity.
Yeah, I forget. I think I've only seen it twice. Once when we saw it, and
I've only seen it the one time at Exhumed. Yeah, it's a really weird film, and it's a Donald Pleasance is running around in that.
Yeah,
and it's a movie that I normally don't think I'd like, but there's some interesting stuff going on because home invasion movies just tend not to work for me.
Right, and it has interesting stars. It's one of those movies that doesn't have, like these days, I'll see a movie and I'll go, look at that cast. Look at who made this. That story sounds great. How come I've never heard of it? Because it sucks.
Yeah, because it's so bad nobody can get excited about it.
Yeah, and even though they found it and they're restoring it, it's still not interesting. But that was really good. I was really impressed with that.
What I like about the movie is that there's a dreamlike quality to it, not just because of the dream sequences, but there's obviously it's low budget. Most of the money obviously went to the stars, but whoever made it was obvious. It's like it just seems like one of these movies where a young person made it who clearly wanted to fuck it up a little bit. I mean, it ends weird.
Yeah.
It starts weird, it ends weird, and it's really creepy. It feels more like a campfire home invasion Cropsey story or something than it does a general here come the sickos to do sicko shit for an hour and a half to titillate you.
Well, here's one of the things, the
guy who faces the wall.
Right, but the thing is, in all those other movies where people break out of something, prison, asylum, and they go invade. They don't have that kind of star eat up the scenery quality that these guys do.
Yeah.
And they were each individually interesting enough.
Yes. Well, it was kind of like, you had this Texas Chainsaw Family where you had, well, that one's scary and that one's creepy and that one's, I don't know what's going on with that one. Right. That one's mysterious. So it did have more going for it than just, 4 giggling jerk-offs. No, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
I do like that film, 4 giggling jerk-offs.
4 giggling jerk-offs?
Yeah, that's Bud Spencer, I think, and
oh, geez.
And
what did I want to mention that I saw that was like, what in God's name? Oh my God! Well, that was fucked up. I went on an Andy Milligan tear.
Oh, don't do that. When we were recording the Mandy podcast.
Yeah, I have.
Evan found, because there's Andy Milligan is a Staten Island filmmaker. So
yeah, I think he was Staten Island, London, back to Staten Island, then L.A.
Right. So,
but he actually made films in recognizable parts of Staten Island, and they know where he made them in his house on the North Shore, and then he was on this. Right. Staten Island's a small place, and you recognize a lot of, Yeah, like the first Andy Milligan movie I saw, I did not know was Andy Milligan, and I'm sitting there going, Jesus Christ, this could be Staten Island, and it was.
Right, and you grow up like us. You read about these movies; they were not easy to get. No. Now, we used to hang out in a bar all the time called the Cargo, and there was a guy there, Bob Elia, who hung out. We hung out with him for years. He was in this movie. Which one is it?
It's not Guru. Wait, I actually don't know which one it is because they're all so fucking awful.
Is it something of blood? Oh fuck! We're the worst.
Is it I Hate Families? Andy Milligan's I Hate Humans.
Yeah,
and I Treat People Badly.
And he told us that he was in this movie, and now this movie is beautiful on Tubi. I've had an old copy of this movie. I could never find him in it because I didn't recognize him, and then Evan finally pointed him out when we were recording.
I forgot he was in the movie because the movie is so ridiculous. And then when I realized that he's the Jesus freak, mad monk dude, I thought I was gonna piss blood. Yeah. I was like, I cannot believe I've had beers with the guy who is doing this right now.
Yeah.
In some ways, I was more excited than like if I'm, hey, it's the guy from Short Circuit 2 with the bad, who's doing, yellow face. And I'm like, it was like unfucking believable. Why can't I find the funny thing about Andy Milligan's films is that most of them are period pieces.
Right. And it makes no sense.
He's on Staten Island and these people are all wearing these like thrift store 1920s outfits, but they have to walk through movies as if don't move 3 inches to the left or else you'll see a bus.
Yeah. The Staten Island Rapid Transit or something like this. It's unbelievable.
In that movie, everybody takes the train to get to some place, and it's the fucking Staten Island Rapid Transit. You can see the modern Tottenville sign and you can see the fucking subway train behind them.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I could not believe. I was like, hey, they're at the fucking train stop. Hey, you can see the modern signs. There's a fucking train behind them. It's it's a modern subway type train. Staten Island only has one railroad now that just goes the south. And it's just like seeing a car all of a sudden drive into.
Oh yeah.
A Dracula movie. I can't find the name of it. Legacy of Blood?
It's Legacy. Yeah, Legacy of Horror or Legacy of Blood. It goes under.
I think it's a Legacy of Blood.
Not to be confused with the John Carradine movie of that name, which is what I've seen because I was looking for the Andy Mulligan movie for.
Maybe that is it. So this guy. So the movie that I saw the other one I saw was Guru the Mad Monk.
Really? How was that?
Oh God. But I found myself, I couldn't stop watching these terrible Andy Milligan movies. Then one called Blood.
Oh, I was going to watch that and it killed me. That was another one where I was like, oh my God, I can't take the way these people look.
I wrote POS next to it, which stands for piece of shit. But I ended up watching like 4 of his movies. And the problem is if I start watching a director's movie, I think a lot of people do this, but usually you do this with somebody you find interesting. not fascinating. If you know what I mean.
But
You go,
you
wow,
get,
I'm going to watch these. I'm going to watch it. Let's see the films of X, and it's like, okay, this is it. But when you watch a dedicated B movie, you really see their fetishes and their. I mean,
well,
they don't keep around to make Jaws 2 and then make a spy movie, and then they make the same fucking movie over and over. And it's fast. Andy Milligan and Don Dohler and people, they make the same, literally sometimes remake the same movie.
Yeah.
And
well, this movie we're talking about is a remake of Andy Mulligan's The Ghastly Ones,
which I want to see.
Yeah.
I saw The Body Beneath. That's another one that I saw.
How was that?
It's an Andy Milligan film.
Do you have piece of shit written by that one?
It's just no, I don't even know where it is. So here's the thing.
Human God.
I watched a bunch of documentaries which were interesting, but I found I'm starting to have problems with documentary filmmakers, because I find myself watching these. That's the Von Mueller film.
Yeah, thank you, Stevie.
Thank you, dog fucker. So I watched. So I watched this. What did I see? I watched this movie. Where the fuck is it now? Yeah, I did watch Capture of Bigfoot. I found Capture of Bigfoot entertaining, but it's not good.
Right.
But where the hell is it? Stay with me here for a second. I'm very sorry, but I'm trying to find it. No, not that.
No, I have to go.
Oh, it was like Ninja Zombie.
Oh, Ninja Zombie. Yeah, we both watched that. Yeah, Ninja Zombie's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I like Ninja Zombie.
Yeah, Ninja Zombie.
It reminded me a lot of Jesus Christ Vampire Killer or something.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter. It reminded me of Hard Rock Zombies. This felt like if Ron Howard, they said we have 3 pounds of shitty makeup left over, can we make a movie in an afternoon?
The thing is, it's genuinely, it's the kind of self-aware that I like. They know they don't have any money.
Yeah,
they're just making this ridiculous film, but it's kind of almost like reading a mini comic. You know what I'm saying? Your expectations are lower than reading a fully produced comic, and it's just kind of like, it's sly and it's stupid and it's ridiculous, but it's pretty funny. There's a lot of laughs in it. I mean, it's like these movies, when you watch a movie like that of Jesus, it's what you want, like something like The Dead Next Door to be, and that everybody says it's like.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not. Yeah. Because the people behind the scenes are actually kind of funny and clever, and they're jerking around, but they're not making a straight out comedy.
Yeah.
That guy's actually hilarious.
The story goes. It's very weird. It's very low budget.
Super low budget.
I mean, is it 8 millimeter? Is it 6 millimeter? I don't even know.
It might not even have a millimeter.
It's
That's how cheap it is. But it's a really good party movie, I think. Or just that's silly. I ended up laughing a lot, and I wasn't expecting anything from it, and it kind of, it's kind of like that. Like the best thing in Brain Dead is like, I kick ass for the Lord, and then that guy gets taken out. And if you kind of like I kick ass for the Lord type of jokes, Ninja Zombie is just ludicrous and silly, but sort of cheap and lovable. And if you ever see Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, has the same vibe.
Yeah.
Of just, we know we're making a funny, silly little movie, and don't hate us. Rather than it's not pretentious, it's not trying too hard, it's not trying to be hip, and it ends up being kind of a lovable, jerky movie.
Yeah.
I don't know where I fell on that. Maybe it was Tubi, maybe it was Plex. I was not expecting to like it, but I liked it. But here's the guy I want to talk about real quick. Bill Rebane. Well, maybe not real quick. Bill Rebane is a guy that I didn't know his name, but it turned out we knew his stuff. You have to have seen. Everybody listening right now has probably seen a Bill Rebane film. He's another one of these. Just keeps making movies. You've probably seen The Giant Spider Invasion. I didn't remember that he was Bill Rebane making that. We talked about that on one of the episodes. That's the one where they took spider legs and put them on a Volkswagen, and that's how you get your main spider. It's a terrible movie. It's very funny.
Right.
It's cheap. It's inept. It has the skipper from Gilligan's Island is in it,
Right.
playing basically the skipper. But it turns out Bill Remain also made Demons of Ludlow, which I saw years ago and was terrible. He made Capture Bigfoot, and he also made Blood Harvest with Tiny Tim, which is probably the most famous film he's made other than the Spider one, because everybody's like, this is the one with Tiny Tim playing a psycho. He plays a clown also. And so I watched everything I could find of Bill Rebanes over a period of like 2 weeks.
Right, and I was watching The Game.
I watched The Game too because you put that on your...
Yeah, it's terrible.
Absolutely terrible. I hated that movie.
It's terrible.
I mean, I wanted to punch that movie in the face so hard. Those three actors, for some reason, really irritated the fuck out of me. Those three old... They're having too good a time at your expense. And I also watched The Alpha Incident.
Oh, which one is that?
In some ways, The Alpha Incident is the most interesting. If not, the Alpha Incident is kind of like watching an Insight episode.
Okay.
If George Romero was into Insight and made The Crazies with 4 people on one set, practically, you get the Alpha Incident. It does not work, but you do get Buck Flower again, and you get a lot of illogic and a lot of speechifying and wondering about society. Somebody got a disease. They've transferred it to these people. They don't know who's sick. The government has asked them to shut down the town. They don't have enough money to show the town. So it's a lot of people in one room acting at each other, which is why it feels like an Inside episode. You keep waiting for Jesus to walk into this thing.
Yeah.
And, not as a vampire hunter. I mean, none of these films are good. The Game is really fucking annoying.
The Game is terrible. Have you watched Invasion from Inner Earth?
No.
That was like, is that, what is that?
Have you? I want to see that.
No, I haven't seen it. It
That's
piqued my interest.
I don't know if they have it on Plex, because the problem is when I go to look for a movie on Plex or Tubi, I usually get kind of checked to the boards by some other piece of shit. And the next thing I know, I'm watching, let's look. What did I watch? Yeti, Giant of the 20th Century.
Oh, Yeti, that's wonderful, that movie.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I'm talking about the one where Yeti gets a nipple erection.
But this is the giant Yeti, right?
Underage. No, but you might be thinking of Ape.
No, I'm not thinking of Ape. I'm thinking of Yeti. Yeti is bizarrely fucking weird, that movie.
No, Yeti is terrible. I was laughing. It's a very funny movie.
Well, that's what I mean. What did you think? It was like it changed my life.
Kid, but it's Italian. It's Italian,
right?
Yeti movie with. It's just terrible.
It's terribly wonderful. I would say.
The girl in it, the main character of the girl, seems underage to me, and yet men are always constantly trying to hit on her or rape her, and then she rubs the Yeti's chest and he gets a nipple erection, which is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen that wasn't in like David Lynch it was just horrible. Yeah. They built a Yeti breast and pumped air into the nipple, and it's just made me like really want to fuck a dog.
I think she was 16 in this movie, if I'm looking at the ages right.
Ew, because one of the main characters is after her and then tries to rape her later on. Italy is so fucking weird, man. What is wrong with them? Seriously. What's their problem? It's supposed to be a civilized place.
I don't know what to tell you. But
yeah, it's a creep. It's a movie that feels like it wants to be a kid's movie, but then it has actual violence, and it has possibly. I think it has. It's not the worst. What do they call it? What is it? A hominid or an anthropoid? I don't know what you would call it. Hairy man, hairy.
Right.
It's not the worst hairy man suit, but it is the creepiest. Because he looks kind of like Fabio or something. He looks like a guy. He looks like a guy who's just. He looks like one of the dog-faced boys from a circus, from the head up, and it looks like somebody gave him a hairdryer for Christmas. And he's got this glittering blue eye, and he's like sexy Yeti.
Right.
But he's not white. He's a Bigfoot color, but he's kind of like dog colored. And you see a lot of his human body. Ew!
Yeah.
Look at him.
He could be. He could be in 10cc. He could just be some guy in 10cc.
I'm not in love. Bigfoots don't cry. Bigfoots don't cry. Now look at that. First of all, I don't know what the tables thing is. That's great. Now, half the time I'm watching this, he looks kind of like Bigfoot and Wild Boy Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But he also, because of the way that they did his torso and legs, he kind of looks like an Attack on Titan monster. I keep expecting to see his dingus at any second. It makes me nervous. But look at his face. He looks like he's just like a Lost in Space monster. He's not a Bigfoot. That's a man.
Yeah.
Baby. Yeah. That's a man.
Yeah.
And he's got like, he cries and shit. It's creepy to look at him. I found him really, really, I mean, he's just, oh, well, of course there's an ugly fucking annoying kid because Italy is insane. What the fuck is wrong with them? The movie is really bad.
Yeah.
It's entertaining, but it's what the, I guess it was supposed to be a King Kong tie-in.
Yeah.
And it's awful. The effects are awful. It's awful. It's also, it was filmed in Canada for God knows what reason. So it's a Toronto-based. It's more like a Yeti in a man suit than a man in a Yeti suit. That's what's fucking creepy about it, I think. So yeah, that's. I watched a lot of other stuff, but I watched this. Assignment Terror. Have you ever seen Assignment Terror? Anyone?
Oh, which one is that?
Do you remember growing up as a kid, folks? And you're reading in the Famous Monsters and Psychotronic and all that about Paul Naschy or Paul Naschy or Nasky, the right. Spanish horror. And he's the Spanish Lon Chaney. He's the Spanish Boris Karloff. He's a Spanish Baldric. He's a ding dong, right? His movies. Is there a good Paul Naschy film? This is his.
Well,
movie.
Have you watched all the werewolf ones? Maybe there's a good one.
I've watched some of the werewolf ones. This is a werewolf movie. Assignment Terror is about an alien played by a very sad, wanting to die Michael Rennie. He basically, at certain points, looks at the camera and mouths, "Kill me." He does it several times during the movie. "Kill me, mate. Oi, kill me." It's very sad. Michael Rennie, big star. He was kitty. She loves Michael Rennie. And Michael Rennie is in this piece of shit, and Paul Naschy plays Dracula, the werewolf, his usual werewolf, Count Voldemort or whatever the hell, and Frankenstein's monster. That's awesome. Right. Now, I don't think he plays the mummy. The mummy looks like you're out of your mind. Assignment Terror is like if Mad Monster Party was even worse. But Phyllis Diller did everyone's voice. Actually, that makes no sense. I take that back. So Paul Naschy was always talked about in these kind of like, you've got Coffin Joe. Look at that. That's Don Adams. That's all I kept thinking. That's fun. Hey, Chief. It's like Karloff missed it by that much. That's the last monster to be introduced. And when he shows up, also, he is doubled by a tall guy because he's short. Paul Naschy is short and stout. And it's a tribute to his werewolf that it almost looks good compared to one of the worst vampires I've ever seen. Possibly the worst Frankenstein outside of Dracula versus Frankenstein, the Al Adamson one. Because that's not even a Frankenstein's monster. That's carpeting remnants with eyes. That's oatmeal that somebody threw up on top of a suit. That one. But his monsters are terrible. The movie is terrible. And it's basically Plan 9 from outer space, except instead of reviving the dead, these aliens that want to take over Earth take over some space they take over scientists' bodies of some mostly attractive women, and then they use their knowledge to revive the Universal horror monsters.
Okay.
Except they're the Spanish versions. So instead of watching, you're not even getting the Mego versions of the Universal horror. You're kind of getting the I can't remember.
Remco?
Yeah, you're getting the Remco monsters where it's like, that's a mummy. That's not real. That's cheesecloth. But the mummy is actually creepy. The mummy is, I don't think it's Paul Naschy, but the mummy sort of looks creepy in its cheapness. The movie is terrible. I mean, it's like, I was actually watching it like this. Actually, I was embarrassed for fictional creatures. It's so bad. It is so bad. It's so hard to get through. Oh, Lord. Although at the end does get kind of exciting because it's not as bad as most movies where Dracula, Frankenstein, and Werewolf and the Mummy all get together, because a lot of weird shit goes down. There actually is some fighting and throwing of shit and murdering. So it's kind of like a serious version of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is still like the best monster fights.
Right.
They break doors, they throw shit, they go out windows, the women get thrown out of a window. I mean, it's Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein has better monster fights than like any Universal movie, pretty much. It's the destroy all monsters of those things. But this one tries to do it it kind of gets exciting for a few minutes, but it really kind of more looks like several drunk people at a Halloween party get into a fist fight. It's not, oh, here comes Winky. Winky! We're coming up on 3 hours, so
yeah, I do. There is a question that
if anybody wants to talk about anything now, hi Winky. You've seen more than I have.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Australian movies just because I've been watching a lot of.
I'd like to. There's a few I'd like to see. What have you been watching?
In general, or when it comes to Australian stuff.
Yeah, the Australian stuff.
I just watched The Last Wave, which isn't necessarily horror.
Is that Peter Weir?
I believe that's him.
I've never seen The Last Wave.
My story is I confused Walkabout with Last Wave, so the other day I just watched both of them, so I wouldn't be confused anymore.
I used to own Walkabout and Picnic on Hanging Rock. My father-in-law gave it, and I still have not seen either.
Right. I rewatched Picnic at Hanging Rock a couple of months ago. I mean, and Wake and Fright is terrifying beyond belief.
Which one is Wake and Fright?
Wake and Fright is a school teacher who's paying off his debt, has to teach in this small town, and he gets waylaid going on vacation, and Donald Pleasence is in it, and it's his best role I've ever seen him in. I think he's absolutely amazing in it, and it's basically he's a kind of
Paganini horror.
Yes,
because he sits in that one. I love it. He sits.
What about Phenomena?
Dude, oh, come on. Phenomena. He rides up and down on his little better than Raw Meat? He's good in Raw Meat. He's funny in Raw Meat.
I don't like Raw Meat. I only watched Raw Meat once. I have to rewatch it again. If you remember, that was a movie that Fletcher was looking for forever. We finally found the copy. I watched it and I didn't like it. So I've never rewatched it.
I think Raw Meat is too padded out, but I think that there's some really good stuff in it. It's one of those movies that you're like, is this really an unseen gem, or is this just an interesting movie that people get a little too excited when they fall upon it? I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it's incredibly compelling. It's like that movie I was talking about earlier, the Terror at Red Wolf Inn. Is it just because it's got a certain topic before another better well-known movie doesn't mean that you got to run out and see it immediately, because on its own terms, it's really not that good. It doesn't even know if it wants to be a comedy or not until the very end, which is really jarring. But I've never heard of Wake and Fright.
Yeah,
I don't recall hearing about this one. So he gets waylaid.
He gets waylaid. I thought we had talked about it briefly as films I had watched. It's easily available and has been restored. It's one of those films that that they didn't. I think they didn't think it actually existed.
Oh, really?
Or could get a uncut version other than the TV versions. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to actually put.
Oh no, that's all right. I'll catch it afterwards. I'm going to look for it. Do you know who has it?
I think it's on Tubi and a couple of other services. I don't know if it's still on it, but it is really violent. It is on Tubi. It has a scene that I fast forwarded a little through the kangaroo killing thing.
What the fuck?
It's a powerful scene, and it but still it's at least they didn't do it for the movie. They went out with the people who went on these hunts and film stuff.
I hear you. I haven't seen Road Games. I've always wanted to.
Road Games, I don't think is.
It looks like a decent. Okay.
It's good. It's not. It's okay.
I mean, if Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm not a Stacy Keach fan, but Jamie Lee Curtis, I can watch her in almost anything except True Lies.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad, but I was a little excited for Road Games when I first heard about it back.
The one I want to see is Razorback.
I've never watched Razorback. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Razorback has always intrigued me. I mean, people, don't make a huge case for it, but it looks like it's nuts. And in that documentary, it was very funny to see Gregory, the guy who's in it, basically go, that movie was, I thought I was going to get my head knocked off in several scenes. I mean, Australian genre movies have that kind of gung-ho, you can't believe you're seeing that stuff happening, that some Hong Kong action movies and now other action movies have, where you just, you're physically watching something smash through something else. There's a love affair with cars in the Australian movies that is just amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, get into the outback and drive like lunatics.
Right. And also, of course, Next of Kin.
I really like Next of Kin.
Yeah.
Here's a weird one that I watched. But I do remember. I remember Sweet 16. I've seen, which is a Australian film, which is not great.
Yeah, I didn't get through that.
Patrick is not a very good film. It's famous because I think that the ad campaign and it got over here, and
it was everywhere. It was available.
And it was available, but Patrick is not really great. They give Patrick some space on that documentary. It's still about a guy just laying in bed.
He spits.
And unlike the Sender, there's not much going on around it. It's creepy, but it's Wormwood.
Yeah, I have not seen it. Wormwood.
I'm writing that one down. I've never heard of it. Is that new?
I believe it's fairly new, yeah.
So the one that I saw that I had never heard of and stumbled across, and I'm not going to say go out and see this. It's called Zombie Brigade from 1988. It's Australian.
Okay.
It's a movie that I was sitting there watching, and it's not good, but it is so. I mean, that's one thing about Australian films, that these are films with people who speak English, right? But they don't feel like British or Canadian. I mean, they just. I don't find New Zealand films. It just feels off. And the thing that's interesting about this film is that they're. It's hard to explain this movie. It's a joke movie, but it's got serious overtones about racism and colonialism and the Vietnam War. It bites off way more than it can chew. But I found myself sticking with it towards the end, and then afterwards going, that really wasn't very good, but I wanted it to be better.
Yeah.
It's odd what's different. The things that are different about it from a low budget American horror movie was what was more interesting. It was more interesting to watch almost culturally and as a film geek than to watch as an actual movie.
Okay, sure, that makes sense.
It's about a typical story. They're moving some graves, or they're bombing they're getting rid of a monument to Australians who lost their lives in Vietnam in this small dying town. And one of the main characters is Aborigine. Two of them are actually. And then the people who are going to buy this land are from Japan. So you've got a Japanese businessman with a Singaporean translator. I mean, it was just a weird group of characters you don't normally see because of it not being an American film. And you've got a lot of outback, small town people, and the movie doesn't hold up, but you're so confused by the choices it makes.
You mean the characters' choices, the plot choices?
The situations, whether it goes into real horror or not. And then, of course, there are some crazy car stunts because they can't. It's like you get paid. I guess you get tax credits from the Australian government if you wreck a few cars. And there's scenes that are effective, and then the whole town ends up being shut down by the by Australian defense. They're closed off, and they're not allowed to leave. So then you get people who are panicking and freaking out and anti-government. I mean, none of this is pursued really well. The movie itself is clunky as shit, and the ending is just kind of like pulled out of some kid's ass. Like I said, I can't recommend it, but it's an interesting failure. And there are times where you go, there's a movie, this thing's going in a direction where I really wish it kept going. This could have been a really weird black comedy.
Yeah.
About deeper about Australian culture and race and small towns and it's got so much on paper, but it's not good.
Right.
But it's not good in a weird way. But I had never heard of it. I think it's on Tubi, Zombie Brigade.
Okay.
And they're not. And the thing is, you're going to be confused for a while because it turns out it's a vampire movie.
I'll be right back again.
Whoops, sorry. So, yeah. Has anybody seen anything interesting out there that you'd recommend we hunt down? What else did I watch? I watched a lot of crap, but it's always been over the last month. Don't watch Moonchild. There's a movie called Moonchild that you should not watch, folks. It's a artsy-fartsy 70s movie that was made, I think, as a senior project from film school. It's got John Carradine and Victor Bono in it. It's just awful. Oh, Jesus, here's a movie. Has anybody, if any of you are Miike film, Takashi Miike fans, have you seen Visitor Q? Has anybody seen Visitor Q out there? Because I'm still not sure what I think of that movie. That was an experience. Not always pleasant. If you're out there, say something. Have you ever seen Visitor Q? Takashi Miike's Visitor Q?
No.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Well, one thing that
that was a tough movie to get through, and I think I liked it, but that was a tough fucking movie to get through. I would not show it. Like, it's not the kind of movie that you go, hey, we're meeting so and so's parents tonight. Let's show Visitor Q. Everything but cannibalism.
One thing I want to touch on, because I figure that we're winding up soon, is that I had seen the documentary on folk horror, the Woodland Dark and Days Bewitched. I think it's like 3 hours, like 15 minutes. It's on Tubi, or you can rent it for a couple of bucks.
Oh, really? Okay.
It is, really, really, really good in all it covers. It was when they were getting to American folk horror, I said, if these cocksuckers don't mention Manly Wade Wellman and John the Ballateer, right, I'm going to be pissed off. And they did, because they did everything. Wow. They really covered everything.
That's a deep dive. Yeah.
It's a really terrific.
We should still do a folk horror episode, but I mean, I feel like folk horror is being covered really well by academics and people who do a lot of research and stuff like that. I mean, we come to stuff more like, the film itself in some ways, and like what, weaving through what you might want to watch next or what you did or didn't like. I mean, I would still like to do it because, I mean, I really do enjoy those kinds of horror, and I don't know how to approach them, to be honest, from a researcher or academic or folklorist thing. But I mean, there's something that I really like, and before they were calling them folk horror or whatever, I like those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
I've always liked movies where, and if there's movies that have something like that, I like we're going to bury a frog here and then you're going to roll over it and then that'll tell us the number of toes you had. I have always been a sucker for folklore and things like that. And I've always liked movies where that is a part of it. And I want to watch more of those kind of movies. And I think I always wanted to talk about Field in England.
Yeah. Field I absolutely loved that movie.
I came to really like it, but I had a lot of trouble with it, adjusting to it, because it was not what I was expecting from what I'd read or heard about. I once I decided to view it as a comedy, I was able to really get with it. But as an actual horror movie, it's not really a horror movie in the sense that I was expecting. When people would tell, they're trapped in the thing. I mean, this is when I first heard about the movie. People were selling it as it's a bunch of people. They're trapped in this plot of ground and there's something going on and they can't get out. And it sounded a lot more, not the high concept that it is.
Yeah, it sounded like a structured narrative, maybe.
And not talking at all about the visual approach or the bawdiness or the characters or the fact that it's very funny.
Yeah.
It's really dark.
Yeah.
And most people didn't even mention that it was a period piece.
Yeah, I'm kind of sold on him now.
I want to see some of the other films. Yeah.
Sightseers is really good. I enjoyed Sightseers. It was just odd little movie. And what was the last one that came out? I forget. That was he does a very interesting take on his kind of version of folk horror.
And I think he's got a partner that he writes with, not a writing partner, a woman who works with him on a lot of stuff. I was reading about them. Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to mention is that a movie that I saw last night that I was expecting to hate, I watched a movie called The Blood Drinkers from 1964.
Okay.
I knew nothing about this movie except that I had heard the drive-in theater ads for it on a radio blog, a station that plays, and it sounded absolutely horrible. And I was confusing it with a British film that Peter Cushing is in a small part, and which Patrick McNee is in.
Okay.
And it's not a very good film. And now I'm trying to remember, is it called The Blood Drinkers, The Blood Eaters, The Blood? I don't know. Well, I'd have to look it up because
is this a Filipino film? Because
Yes.
I'm looking at The Blood Drinkers, Filipino,
Now, The
1960.
Blood Drinkers is something I've dismissed this film when I've seen it because the poster for it, the poster that you generally see for it, makes it just look like a standard Filipino horror movie, which I don't have a problem with, but I just wasn't in the mood.
Right.
It just looks like here comes, jungle vampire or cannibal or whatever the hell attacking women. It's a movie that I'd like to talk about actually maybe as part of an episode or part of another thing.
So I should watch this. That's what you're saying.
I don't know if you'd like it, but there's a lot to unpack with this thing. It is not what it seems. And I think that there's a lot of entertainment to be had here because watching this thing, it's based on a Filipino comic.
Okay.
Turns out a comic serial.
And this is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
This is okay.
Yes. And it's super stylish on a budget. There's a lot of things that it reminded me of that included Starman and early tokusatsu.
I love Starman.
Just in on-camera goofy tricks of displacing characters during a fight. Yes. It reminds me of old movie serials. It reminds me of comics. It reminds me of Son of Dracula and other 40s Universal films where there was more of a physical aspect of the vampires. It reminds me of Night of the Living Dead. It reminds me of old tinted silent movies and Russian silent movies because it's a 60s movie that at times looks like it was made in the 20s because of budget limitations, and at times looks like it was made contemporaneously. It has science and magic being used to fight the monsters. The police and the military are involved, as well as the Roman Catholic Church. It feels like it's 8 episodes of an old serial put together. And it turns out from the little I can't find out much about the comic because I became obsessed with it. I went down a rabbit hole of reading about Filipino comics last night. That there's so much plot from the comic serial that they just put a narrator in there and cut down things so that they go pell-mell from one plot to another plot to another plot. Yeah. I'm not sure.
He's actually the producer on it. He's not the director.
The director is a known quantity who worked on some of those later Brides of Blood or Beast of Blood type movies. This is such an. If you pull up stills from this thing, and if I would like to see it. Apparently, it's been re-released on a cleaner copy. They only had so much color footage. It's the first color horror movie, but it's not full color. It's and what they do is now somebody on IMDb goes, look, I hate to burst people's bubbles, but this is the way that all Filipino films of color in color were made this time. But I think that person is just trying to be a jackass because there are choices made of when to use color, when not to use full color, when to use duo strip type color where everything's red and green like the old cartoons. That they try to make a range of colors with just two colors. And then there were times where they just make the entire scene tinted blue, tinted red, tinted orange. Sometimes they will have color just come into a scene. It's artistic on the fly. It's pulp artistic. There are scenes that make you think of Bava. There are scenes that make you think of black and white Bava. There are scenes that make you think that they had just seen some color Bava. It's like watching, I mean, it's serialized, goofy entertainment, but right from the beginning, it throws you off because a very gothic opening with this horse and carriage, this beautiful horse and carriage is being ridden with a it's a funereal carriage with a coffin inside it. And everything looks like it's a gothic film. And then you notice that there's a car behind this carriage. And that the movie's actually contemporary. But the goddamn thing looks like a Universal film 1 minute, looks like a Bava film the next, looks like a Mexican wrestling action movie because there's fight scenes. And it has a compelling, crazy, cool villain, Count Marco, who looks a little like Telly Savalas, and is either wearing this wild mod outfit with wraparound sunglasses, or he's wearing some gothic outfits. And at one point, he uses a gun. I mean, it just goes in such crazy, what the fuck places that I absolutely found myself loving it. Like I started watching this at like 4 a.m. I'm like, if I don't like it, I'll turn it off. I could have watched 7 sequels to this thing because it is. Now here's the thing. This is not me saying you got to watch this. You will unequivocally love this. This is great filmmaking. But what this is that it's inventive, non-boring, crazy genre filmmaking. It's just they took this comic book, they threw everything into it. The main villain has a Dr. Phibes thing. He's not only a vampire, he's also a mad scientist trying to remove the heart of this woman to put into. So you get that European thing with everybody trying to fix it. And he's got a hot chick assistant vampire. The mother-in-law of his beloved is working with him. A hunchback and a little person who are also vampires. And they're taking on this entire town. At the end of this movie, you've got processions of Roman Catholics. You've got vampires rising. It's just fucking fun.
It sounds great.
I cannot believe that this is something that I've never heard of in depth before, because the poster just looks like it's just one of these nuts in the jungle on the loose trying to, pull heads off of cute girls. It's the worst possible way to sell this movie is that poster. That's the hunchback. Here's the thing. One of the main characters is a Roman Catholic priest, and they have a good hunchback. I love it's just so kitchen sink. There's like 30 characters. I don't want to oversell it. It's cartoons.
You did though.
Okay. It's a fun movie.
Okay.
They will play with the fact that they could not get full color film meant that they only used full color for several scenes in the daytime. and that during the night when certain things happen, they will put a red. So it's got a gimmick almost like a William Castle.
Okay.
When the red, and at one point there's a plot point with it, but I just want to say one thing. There is a fakest looking bat in the movie ever is in this movie named Basra. Apparently the bat is not a major plot point in the original film.
Okay.
The distribution people, somebody in distribution when they took this to America, loved this bat, and they re-edited parts of it so that the bat has more scenes, which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
because the bat really does disappear from the movie, but they gave the bat a bigger role. And the DVD that came out of this recently supposedly has 25 silent minutes of footage that they cut.
Wow.
Which I'm dying to see, because I just found this in a non-camp kind of way that we were talking about Zombie Ninja or Ninja Zombie. That's how I enjoy this. I just found this delightful, fun,
great.
jerky comic book adventure. It's so dopey, but I loved it. So we don't have to talk about it now because I just did.
Yeah, I think on that note, we probably should call it. We've been a good 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Yep.
Thank everybody who showed up and wrote things and talked. There was a lively discussion on the boards of other stuff while we were talking. So hopefully people had a good time.
Folks, drop us a line if you want, because I'm feeling now. I don't know what direction to go in for my movie watching right now. And as we've talked about, I have blind spots on modern stuff. So if you've got stuff from the last 20 years that you think I'd like based on you listening to the podcast or talking to us, drop us a line on do we have a way for people to get in touch with us? Or
they should do it. Go on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Tear Them Apart something.
Tear Them
This is
Podcast,
terrible.
or just my name or Paul's name. But some of you, we see you. We're following you.
We're Tear Them Podcast at Tear Them Podcast on Twitter. That's a good place to write anything, or Evans on Twitter, or
and Paul's on Twitter, because I actually found myself a couple of weeks just absolutely not knowing. I started watching documentaries for a while. I just did not know what to watch next until I fell into some terrible Bigfoot films that sent me spiraling into picking films at random on Tubi at 3 a.m, 4 a.m. But I mean, there has to be good films from the last 20 years, obviously, and I don't know what to watch.
Have you seen Session 9?
I like Session 9.
Okay, good.
But is that like 25 years? I think that might have.
I think that was 2000 and something, or maybe it was what, I don't know. Time doesn't make sense anymore.
No, it doesn't. The aughts, 2000 to 2010, between weird things going on in our life and then having a kid and everything, I don't know. I look at a film and go, well, this film's like 40 years old. No, 2007. Jesus fucking Christ. But I don't know movies. And from the last, what's this thing that I want to week? Anyway, yeah, I'll check out Wormwood, the Sightseers, Wake in Fright, and that documentary. That's what I'm gonna try to watch, and hopefully we'll have a new episode soon. And I hope everyone's well.
Right, stay safe, and
please stay safe. God.
Yeah, and we'll enjoy yourselves, and thanks for coming.
Watch the movies, make some notes, keep in touch.
Right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, Paul.
Bye-bye.